by neighborhood councils, and that is another project that we're working on, but there are a few more that we have to get certified. But for the most part, we expect within probably the next 2 or 3 years that there could be as many as 95 neighborhood councils to be fully representative of every resident in this city.
Well, you were talking about the fact that there are 88 currently, and I just heard you say that 91 total have been certified, so apparently some have been decertified. What sort of things would get a council decertified?
There are a number of conditions that neighborhood councils have to meet to maintain their certification relative to how often their board of directors meets. So minimally, if their board of directors does not meet on a quarterly basis, and there are a number of other requirements, but there were in 3 instances where community leaders could really not agree, and there was a lot of disagreements, and that got in the way of the working of the business of the neighborhood council. And in that case, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment prepared a report, did the investigation, and made the recommendation to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, which did decertify 3, but 3 out of 91 isn't all that bad.
Well, if they're unable to agree, forgive me, but sometimes the city council votes 8-7 and doesn't agree either. I assume there was more than just a simple disagreement.
Yeah, it really did affect the workings of the neighborhood council, and if it reaches such an extent where we feel that the residents of the neighborhood council are really suffering and not being represented by the interests of the neighborhood council, then there is time. Of course, we go through an exhaustive process of trying to get the neighborhood council back on track, but in those instances, we felt that it was better to take them before the commission.
One of the city council members raised the point that there are now a large number of neighborhood councils, many people participating within those councils. You don't have a very large staff. How does the department find itself able to operate effectively?
That is the major challenge. Arguably, Los Angeles has the most ambitious and largest neighborhood council system in the country. We have roughly 1,500 elected board members and thousands of stakeholders that are involved. And we have a full-time staff of 48 full-time positions. So really it is about being able to determine what the priority needs are for both the neighborhood councils, but also city government as it seeks to identify where the partnership opportunities are with neighborhood councils, establish priorities, focus our limited resources in ways that are really going to maximize the impact that we can have for people throughout Los Angeles.
During your confirmation process, we heard you mention NCRC. Now, as I remember, I think that stands for Neighborhood Council Review Commission, does it not? That's
correct. It's otherwise known as the 912 Commission, which refers to the charter number, which speaks to the requirement that an appointed body be formed 7 years after the formation to basically review what the past 7 years have been like for the formation of the neighborhood council system. So the charter commissioners recognize that it would be of value for a body like this to evaluate how far we've come, and then what are some improvements that need to be made in going forward. So the commission, which I was a member of at one point, spent over a year doing research, talking to neighborhood councils, talking to city leaders, and really reevaluating the past 7 years. And they came up with over 70 recommendations that the city council is currently weighing, and we are it's probably going to take us about 2 years to implement all of the recommendations, but it really is a revamping of the system. And as I mentioned before, one of the major recommendations that the City Council immediately took action on was to transfer the responsibility of administering elections over to the city clerk's office. And that will allow our department to focus on things like education and training, capacity building, improving the visibility of neighborhood councils and the fact that they really are for every resident in Los Angeles, and a number of other activities that are really geared towards getting as many people involved in the neighborhood councils as possible.
Partway through that process, as you say, more than a year, we had Rafe Sonnenschein, who of course was heading up the effort here on Council Week in Review to talk about some of the other recommendations and the things that were being considered by the Commission when you were on it, as I recall. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what some of the other ideas that were generated by this process were?
Well, they looked at everything from how our neighborhood council is situated relative to city government decision making. So one of the major areas had to do with powers and roles. And one of the major decisions that the Neighborhood Council Review Commission made was that neighborhood councils would remain advisory. So, the neighborhood councils, as being representative of participatory democracy, which is really to try to get as many residents involved in advising city government on effective policy making. That was probably a very significant decision that the commission had made. But the other recommendations had to do with how city departments should be looking to partner with neighborhood councils. Also, what kind of role the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners needs to have, given that the first iteration of the neighborhood council system was really designed around building the infrastructure and the processes by which people participate. And now we can kind of turn the corner and really talk about focusing more on grassroots empowerment and leadership training and active civic engagement.
Well, and we also heard you and Mr. Rosendahl engage on the question of what about getting involved with other neighborhoods that are not actually within the Los Angeles city limits. So I wanted to ask you what some of the other points in your vision for the department are now.
Well, my vision really has to do with having neighborhood councils become an active part of the political culture of the city government. And, city government is so big and it's so complex. And neighborhood councils are just learning to walk because of the relative newness of the neighborhood councils. But my vision really has to do with transforming the political culture of this city such that as many residents as possible feels like there are opportunities to be heard and that they could actually make a difference, not just in what kinds of decisions our elected officials end up making, but really making a difference in the quality of life for their neighbors in the neighborhoods. And I think if we can get there, Los Angeles really, the Los Angeles Council and the Neighborhood Council system has a very bright future.
And finally, we heard Councilmember Janice Hahn say that in the past 5 years, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment has kind of wandered away from parts of the original mission. What do you need to do as the new general manager to bring it back in line with some of the original mission statements?
Well, a lot of the staff that were originally hired really had the skill sets that I think were relative to the original mission of the neighborhood councils. I don't think anybody could have guessed that the department really had to focus on a lot of the, as I said before, has been the Department of Neighborhood Procedures. But it was necessary that an infrastructure had to be built. And so now that that is up, I think you can think about it as really being a gradual building up process, and that this phase is really about getting people a lot more tools and resources to learn about, how actually does the Bureau of Street Services go about making decisions about where potholes are filled or where trees are cut, or how do library services get provided. And this is a great opportunity because the neighborhood council system really is designed in such a way that people can see and are a part and are an extension of city government. As I like to say it, neighborhood councils are an extension of city government into the neighborhoods, and every resident can go to their neighborhood council meeting, and you don't have to be a citizen, and everybody can vote, and even young people, and more importantly young people. I'd like to see a lot of young people get involved in neighborhood councils because they represent the true future of Los Angeles as well.
And now under the full guidance of Bong Wan Kim. Thanks so much.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council meeting for May 30th, 2008. We are here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, and we want to welcome all of our distinguished guests and visitors who are here this morning for our presentations on Friday. We meet here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and we have our agendas available online or here in person or through the city clerk's office. Those agendas are made public 72 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance for any of our special items. We want to welcome our viewers also on Channel 35 and our city's cable system, where they broadcast live and rebroadcast the taped meetings in the evening, and we thank them for doing that. We're also available online through the city's homepage at lacity.org, and you can click through the links on the left part of the homepage to watch live streaming webcasts of our council meeting or to access past archived footage of our past council meetings. We're also available through your telephone at 213-621-CITY. You can call in and listen to the audio proceedings of any of our committee meetings or the full council meeting here in council chambers. If any of the members of the public would like to be heard on any of the items we'll be discussing later this morning, go ahead and fill out a speaker card in the back and hand that to one of the sergeants at arms. They'll make sure that you get in the queue and we will be able to hear your comments. All items receive either a public hearing in committee or here in the full council, pursuant to state law. We also have a section of the meeting called General Public Comment for items that aren't on the agenda but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the city. So feel free again to fill out one of those speaker cards in the back and put public comment in the upper right corner, and we'll make sure that we hear from you as well. We have council members Gruel, Labange, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Weiss, and Zine here. We appreciate you all being here on time, and we begin our Fridays usually with presentations to notable members of the community, important people who have either served the city or who have been a friend to Los Angeles, and we have a number of those presentations and would like to begin our first one by recognizing our President Pro Tem and Councilwoman from the 2nd Council District, Wendy Gruel. And we'll hold that presentation around the table because her honoree is on her way. So, Ms. Perry, are you ready? Okay. We'll recognize Ms. Perry for a very special presentation, Jan Perry from the 9th Council District.
Will the Feria de los Libros come join me? Victor, all the, come on up. Come on, what are they shy? Okay, thank you. As they join me, I'll tell you who they are. They're the sponsors and event planners for an outstanding event that has taken place for the past 3 years right here on the lawn of City Hall in the 9th Council District, the Feria de Libros event. Feria de Libro is a citywide multicultural event designed to celebrate and promote a tradition of reading at home and at school and to make quality, culturally relevant books more accessible to all children and their families. The Feria will combine author readings and signings, book sales, book giveaways with dance and dramatic performances, music, face painting, clowns, and games. It is an event filled with fun and excitement that the whole family will enjoy. The first Feria at City Hall was held on June 3rd, 2006. Many city departments, including the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Library, and General Services, are part of the organizing committee and will participate in the day activities. This year's event will take place on June 7th, again at City Hall. The Feria provides a setting and opportunity where families can purchase books and mix among the vendors and authors and help to develop a very strong appetite for owning books and improving the reading skills of their children. It is produced by families in schools in partnership with the Boyle Heights Learning Collaborative, the Los Angeles Unified School District, and the City of Los Angeles. I would also like to thank the media sponsors, La Opinión, Telemundo, and NBC4, as well as the presenting sponsors, Target and State Farm. And I hope all of you will come out and support this day of fun and literacy. Additionally, this year we will have local events taking place throughout the city at local libraries. Each of you can have a chance to read directly to your children, your constituents' children, people from the community. So I hope everyone will take advantage of this important and educational event. And let's take a look, hold up the poster so everybody can see it. And then, Victor, do you want to say something? You guys want to say something real quick, just like you did upstairs? Yeah, okay. And let's welcome Victor Franco from Telemundo.
Thank you very much, Councilman Perry. We are so delighted and so pleased and so honored to be a part of Feria del Libro. As you can understand, literacy is important regardless of what career, what profession you get into. So it's important for our viewers, it's important for our community as a whole. If we can increase literacy in our community, we are going to improve our community. So we at Telemundo are very proud to be a part of this event. I'd like to have our news anchor, Azalia Inigas, come up and say a few words in Spanish with regards to Feria del Libro. Azalia?
Thank you very much, and I will quickly switch to Spanish. And es un gran honor para Telemundo ser parte de este evento, pero más que nada estamos muy orgullosos de ser parte de un evento conjunto en que toda la comunidad se está reuniendo para lograr darles esas herramientas a nuestros niños y a nuestros padres, a nuestras familias en general, que les recordarán que para tener esa prosperidad que buscamos en este país, ese sueño americano, hay que leer. Como siempre, Telemundo disfruta el poder ser parte de este evento y lo haremos año tras año. Muchas gracias por permitirnoslo.
And a quick word from Mr. Eddie Martinez from State Farm.
Mr. President, members of the Council, Eddie Martinez with State Farm Public Affairs. Good morning. State Farm is proud to be a sponsor of La Feria de los Libros. At State Farm, our focus is in the area of education, safety, and strong neighborhoods. We look forward to please join us. I asked several of the council members to please come on out and join us next Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's give them a big hand, and I hope all of you will attend. Thank you very much. We'll go in the back and take a large.
I'd like to recognize, before you leave, Ms. Perry, Mr. Reyes would like to add his good wishes to the Feria as well. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say to you, the private sector, Telemundo, all of the companies that are outstate, that we have a crisis in the city. 49% of our youth are not graduating from high school. 49%. So when you talk about workforce preparation and the basic skills to advancing careers, you're hitting it right in the heart. Fundamental skills of reading and writing. We have those statistics. It doesn't bode well for our future, except for these partnerships. So thank you, Councilman Perry, and everyone here taking care of our kids, because we have a real crisis in our hands, and you're addressing it directly with these types of services. Thank you so much.
Okay. And then one more word from our favorite Target representative.
Thank you very much. It's with great pleasure that when we opened our doors in 1962, that we'll be giving 5% of our profit back to the communities that we serve. Today, that's up to $3 million a week to help education and the arts flourish. We're very proud to be part of this community, and we enjoy helping education. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we'll get in the back.
Okay. Next, I'd like to recognize Mr. Reyes. Are you ready for your presentation? Then we'll come right over to you, Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. Hi, good to see you again.
Suzanne, please.
Sun and sunset. Okay, I'd like to ask Father Bacchus if we can have our honorable guests join us. We'll come to the podium. After you. And I know Councilman Perry will be joining us as soon as she's ready. And I believe our city attorney, Rocky Delgadillo, is joining us as well. Our city attorney would like to join us at the podium.
Mr. Delgadillo-Opolis.
Yes. And I believe the mayor might be here. We're not sure. But if he does, that'd be great to have him. You know, colleagues, to early Greek settlers, Los Angeles was a city of enormous opportunity, a place to raise a family, enjoy prosperity, and create a new exciting life in America. It was a city of sunshine, oranges, and the mild mist of the Thalassa, the sea. a climate and environmentally lovingly reminiscent of their Greek motherland and the Aegean Sea. Los Angeles may have seemed like the western edge of the world at the time, but the early Greeks who ventured here were determined to make their personal and cultural mark in America's paradise. In little more than a decade, following the turn of the century arrival, through grit, hard work, and a remarkable entrepreneurial spirit, they had established dozens of businesses, become property owners, built their first church, and shaped their own little Greek town area in the very heart of the city of Los Angeles. The Greek pioneers successfully laid the groundwork for future generations of Greeks migrating to Southern California. From all who have followed in their footsteps during their first 100 years, we honor their achievements and salute them proudly. Today we have extraordinary individuals who have carried that tradition through the church, through a great network of organizations, and so we are truly blessed to have such a presence here in Los Angeles that makes up this great metropolis we call LA. So an honored tribute to the 100 years of development and achievement of the Greek Orthodox community of Los Angeles and Southern California. The Los Angeles City Council, along with our city attorney and our mayor, will be providing a resolution. But before we go there, we have several speakers we'd like to hear from, and I'm honored to have with us our city attorney, Rocky Delgadillo, for a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be with so many people who care about something bigger than themselves. You care about your faith, and I know you care about your community. That's why I'm so honored to be a part of the 100-year celebration of the Greek community here in the City of Angels. And besides, who knows how to celebrate better than the Greeks? Not only has Greek culture had a profound influence on Western society, but for the past century, the Greek community right here in Los Angeles has been making a difference in the diverse neighborhoods of this city. Nowhere do you see that principle of giving back to the community more in action than with the Greek Orthodox churches that serve not only as a place of worship, but as a place where neighbors can get together to take language classes, to attend youth group meetings, or festivals, or participate in just a basketball game. I would like to acknowledge and extend my deepest gratitude to His Eminence Metropolitan Herasimos, it's just like Delgadillo, and other religious leaders today in attendance, as well as the Consul General of Greece, Dimitris Siras. Thank you for being here and lending your voice to the chorus of well-wishers on this joyous occasion. I would also like to acknowledge and thank my dear friend, very Reverend Father John Bacchus, the Dean of St. Sophia Cathedral in the beautiful Pico Union area of our city. Father Bacchus' leadership has been critical in putting together the Byzantine Latino Quarter, which has focused on bringing together a neighborhood of diverse residents in this city in a way like no other place in this city. So I want to thank you, Father Bacchus. Also, I'd like to thank you for your daughter who works in our office. She's wonderful. And again, thank you all for allowing me to join in this historic celebration of 100 vibrant years of the Greek community joining in and contributing to the vibrant city of Los Angeles. And here's to another 100 years. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to invite my colleague, the Honorable John Perry. Jan has been a great supporter of all the organizations in Los Angeles, but it is in her district where the first church begins to evolve, and the cathedral ends up being built in the first district. But I'm very honored to have with us our Councilman Jan Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Thank you very much, and it's a privilege to represent the district into which the Greek community first chose to come and start their first parish in 1908. The 9th District is where the Greek community chose to raise its first church in 1912. The church was known as the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary and served the community for 40 years until the opening of St. Sophia's. The church was razed, but there is now an historical marker at the site, which we will celebrate this coming Sunday at 1216 South San Julian Street in the Fashion District. The Greek community began to arrive in Los Angeles before the turn of the last century, and they chose their original church site because it was close to many Greek-based businesses. The area around the church became sort of a Greek town district. The new Greek community was involved in operating many small businesses, including fruit stores, flower shops, barber shops, restaurants, and other similar service businesses. It is in the evolution of Los Angeles that the Greek community moved away from downtown to the Pico Heights district where St. Sophia's Cathedral has been built. So today we revisit the story on why they came to Los Angeles and how they evolved to a thriving community, the Greek community of Los Angeles today. And again, look forward to celebrating the origins and history of the Greek community here in our wonderful city this coming Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Councilman Perry.
We've got two other council members. Do you want to hear them now, or you want to?
We'll hear from the speakers, then we can have
Okay,
the council.
sure. Go ahead.
I'd like to introduce to you, these are they're the dynamic duo of the Greek Cathedral. Ted Pastras, Civic Affairs Chairman, I like to call him the great orchestrator, as well as Father Bacchus, has been the real pillars of how we can bring together a diverse community in Pico Union with the Byzantine Latino corridor. We started back in the early 90s, and through many years of hard work, have been able to evolve to a point where we have many new improvements on our sidewalks, on our streets, on our corners, new trees, and more importantly, the social fabric has been mending with a great effort. So I'd like to ask Ted Pastras to come up, our Civic Affairs Chairman, to introduce not only Father Bacchus and have Father Bacchus coming after him, to introduce all of our honored guests.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Because of the number of distinguished guests that we have in our delegation today, I want to keep this very brief, so just give me 20 seconds to offer my sincerest appreciation and thanks to all of the members here of the City Council on behalf of the Los Angeles Greek community as well as the Greek community of Southern California. We certainly appreciate the fact that you've had the gracious consideration to honor us here today, and we appreciate it greatly. My deepest gratitude to Councilmember Perry and to our good friend Ed Reyes for all of the magnificent work they did to help make this day so very special. We thank you very much. With that, I'd like to bring a gentleman to the podium that I think all of you know, and he will do all of the appropriate recognition and announcements of the distinguished dignitaries and guests that we have here today with us. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Dean of St. Sophia Cathedral of Los Angeles, the Reverend Father John Bacchus.
As Father John Bacchus approaches, I would love to introduce our previous Mayor, Jim Hahn, for gracing us with his presence and his support in the years as we were evolving in the Byzantine Latino corridor. I'll give you Father John Bacchus.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Reyes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, and LA City Council members. It is indeed always a genuine honor to be in your presence and to go back a few years and to wax a little bit into the nostalgic memories of the past as we remember those immigrants whose mantra, as it were, whose melodious words of America, America, was the great song that brought them across the ocean. In a sense, the Hebraic form of a Passover, passing over from the old land to the new land of milk and honey, which is America. I want to introduce a few of the individuals here before our honored guest and the leaders of our community, the leader of our community in the western United States. Let me first introduce to you representatives who are here from the clergy, if you don't mind for a moment, someone well known to all of you, Father Spencer Kezios, who serves the city on the Planning Commission, his successor at St. Nicholas, Father Anthony Savas. Also, the hierarchs will be introduced by His Eminence Metropolitan Gerasimos, but representing the Orthodox Church of America and Bishop Benjamin is Father Michael Senyo, Dean of the Holy Virgin Mary Russian Orthodox Church of LA. He's right there. Father Michael Nazim, Dean of St. Nicholas Antiochian Church of Los Angeles, over on 3rd Street. Father Michel. Also introducing Father Alexi Smith, who is the ecumenical officer of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Los Angeles, well known to everyone. I think Mr. Delgadillo mentioned our esteemed Consul General of Greece, the Honorable Dimitris Karamitsos Giras, who is right there. And we want to also introduce you to distinguished co-chairman of the event of the celebrations for the entire year and the weekend of the 7th and 8th, Timi Loomis, freshman, who is here. And her co-chair was not able to be here. And let me also introduce you to some of the children quickly and grandchildren of those early immigrants. And as I mention your name, please stand and people will acknowledge you. John Sakalaris, Dina Oldno, Elizabeth Huttinger, Dr. Jim Dimitriou, Christine Paradas, Jerry Stathatos, Lola Gelketsis, George Stratus, Tom Stratos, Bill Vasilian, Peter Vasilian, John Rallis, Raleigh Rallis, and Mary Tassop. Those who are here, we thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me the great honor and pleasure of introducing the leader of our church and Greek Orthodox community in the Western United States, His Eminence Metropolitan Archbishop Gerasimos of the Greek Orthodox Church. Your Eminence.
Mr. President, members of the Council, good morning. When you follow Father Bakas, you have to have a very light heart, because he's very inspiring and very beloved brother, and indeed a true friend to many of you here. Many people are in these chambers this morning, but I would like to acknowledge first, before I make my brief remarks, some of my brother hierarchs. His Grace Bishop Maxim of the Serbian Orthodox Church in the West, and His Eminence Archbishop Derderian of the Armenian Apostolic Church, who were so kind to come with us this morning and join in the celebration. It is truly a joy and privilege for me to be with you today to accept and celebrate the proclamation honoring the 100th anniversary of the Greek Orthodox community of Los Angeles. This milestone has been achieved through years of hard work, partnership, stewardship, and love. Today we commemorate the efforts of the many dedicated people who brought their faith with them from their homeland in Greece to begin a new life in the United States, and their desire to establish a place for prayer and worship and fellowship that would promote not only the Orthodox faith, but their Hellenic culture. Thousands of Greek Orthodox Christians are dutiful citizens of this city and the surrounding areas. Throughout these past 100 years, the Greek Americans have served the city as civic leaders, educators, professional athletes, entrepreneurs, entertainment executives, laborers, restaurateurs. The Los Angeles Greeks have played a vital role in the development of this city, bringing with them cultural diversity, old world values, and a strong work ethic. Many of the first Greeks to arrive in Los Angeles worked on the transcontinental railroad connecting east and west. Many others were employed by the Los Angeles Gas and Electric Company, one of the first companies to hire immigrant Greeks to dig ditches and lay lines across the Los Angeles area. There was no job that they would not take because they had a zest for life and a yearning for a new beginning. Wherever they worked, they were given the opportunity to gain new skills and knowledge, learn the English language, and become entrenched in the new American traditions. It is those Greek pioneers who came to Los Angeles that we especially remember in this centennial celebration. It is those visionary forebears who 100 years ago signed the charter that formally established the Greek Orthodox community of Los Angeles. Los Angeles became their new permanent home. They put down roots right here, just blocks from where we are now standing. The roots they put down were nourished by some very important characteristics: faith in God, allegiance to their heritage, traditions and culture, faith in themselves and their ability to excel and succeed. In signing the Charter of June 14th, 1908, their first priority was to build a church and organize a vibrant and faithful community around it. They wanted a place to worship God and live out their holy traditions. So they built their first church at 1216 St. Julian Street in 1912 and named it the Annunciation of the Virgin Mary. Perhaps they did so in honor of the same Holy Mother for which this city is named, Nuestra Señora de los Ángeles, Our Lady of the Angels. And so they built and built. They increased in numbers and influence. They prospered. They invested in this city and were successfully involved in every aspect of the community, in business, the vocations and professions of the day. They adapted and they excelled. From their labors and love, 18 other churches and Greek Orthodox communities have sprouted and have become major institutions in our Southland. Some of the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of those pioneers are here with us today. Father John Backus introduced them to you at this ceremony. The entire community will celebrate their heritage next weekend, June 7th and 8th. And you're all welcome to participate in that celebration. I thank the council members, the leaders of this great city, for hosting us here today and for remembering those early Greek immigrants who helped make the city and Southland world-class communities which impact the whole world in positive and creative ways. Looking back is a way to get our bearings for the future. The future will always be impacted by what was began formally in 1908. May their memory be eternal, and may God's blessings be upon us all. Thank you.
Your Eminence, thank you for such wonderful words. Father Bacchus, the immigrant experience is a very special one. I know that as a son of an immigrant. But I'd like to say, and I hope I say this correctly, Sinare Tiria Keala E Kato, which means congratulations and another 100 years. With that, signed by the council, our mayor.
Our chairperson.
I would like to give this to our chairperson, Teamy Freshman, signed by my council colleagues, our city attorney, city controller Laura Chick, and our mayor Antonio Villagosa. Congratulations. Have a great festival. And thank you for all your comments.
Thank you very much. And we have a few other council members.
Thank you, Councilman Reyes and Perry. We would like to give you some flowers today for all of your help and undaunted faithfulness to us, the Greek community.
Thank you.
And I would like to just say a few words. Thank you. Thank you. Historic site. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. That we will put on. I'd like to thank all of our forefathers and foremothers, because without those women of years and years ago, the men would not have been able to do what they did.
Yay! That's right. Tell 'em.
And I'd also like to say very briefly, we have, there was a wonderful article in the LA Times the other day, but it didn't say a couple of things of our logo honoring the past, celebrating the present, and envisioning the future. And that is so important for our Greek community, because we're not only honoring those people, our forefathers and foremothers, but we are celebrating what we are doing as Greek Americans today, and we are celebrating and envisioning the future of what we will be doing. And we have put together a beautiful book which we will present to you next week, 275 pages of what that has been, the past, the present, and the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have 4 council members that would like to
Before
ask.
you go, Chairperson, I want to present to you a copy or facsimile of the plaque that will be placed on Sunday, the next Sunday, when we're celebrating on San Julian Street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes and Ms. Perry. Mr. Rosendahl would like to add his good wishes, then Mr. Labange, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Hahn. Mr. Rosendahl.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. Father John Baca, you're a treasure to all of us in Los Angeles. Thank you for your leadership. You got that eagle with its wings out on that big building right next door. And from what we all know about the eagle, the one wing is the individual, and the other wing is the rest of us. And without support and relationship with other people, we wouldn't be able to fly. So I appreciate what you've done with that analogy. And I say to everybody here in the council and watching this, you've got to go to St. Sophia's. It's one of the most beautiful structures with the love of the historic immigrants from Greece, showing their respect. Those who became the moguls in the entertainment industry gave back by making that cathedral what it is. And God bless everybody, especially today, the Greek Americans. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Join with our colleagues in congratulating the Greek community on their celebration today. Particularly, I want to spell out our thanks to the Greek community that's in my district in Northridge with the St. Nicholas Church. Father Kay and Father Anthony are here. Father Kezius, as we call him, Father Kay, serves the city as a commissioner on the APC. His wife served for many years. Christine served as a commissioner on our Board of Zoning Appeals. I see Mrs. Petsuris is in the back, a resident of our area who serves us well on the Airport Commission, her husband on the Water and Power Commission. The Greek community is a very, very vibrant part of our city. More importantly, this church in particular, besides hosting the annual Greek Festival, which hundreds of thousands of people come for the food and the dance and the culture, and more food and a little more dance and a little more food, besides all of that, they give their church willingly and free to the community. This city council has met there on 3 occasions that I can remember. They give it to us at no charge. We've had zoning hearings there. We've had committee meetings, commission meetings. They give their church freely for the neighborhood watch groups, neighborhood council. They are a vibrant part of our community, and they also run a senior housing program in our community. And so I can never be more proud of the people at St. Nicholas and the Greek community in the Northwest San Fernando Valley for their involvement in the community and making our community a better place to live. God bless you, and thank you.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I too want to just rise and celebrate with the Greek community this milestone anniversary, 100 years celebrating the first Greek immigrant who came here. And again, relating to my part, Father John, it's great to see you here today. For my little part of the city down in San Pedro, we have a Greek community. Obviously, the Papadakis family is a huge part of that community. George and Olympia Harris have been great contributors to the community. John Papadakis is the one along who got my brother and I inspired to build a vision of a waterfront promenade along the Port of Los Angeles. It was his vision, and one day when that promenade from the Vincent Thomas Bridge all the way out to the breakwater is complete, it will be because of the vision of a Greek-American, John Papadakis. And to the mothers, as you said so eloquently, if it wasn't for what our 4 mothers envisioned and did, the men would not have been able to accomplish all that they did. Angie Papadakis. One day, it is my hope and my vision that all children will be given the kind of opportunities and alternatives to joining a gang. And it was Angie Papadakis some 20 years ago who gathered with other mothers to say, let's do something to keep kids from joining gangs. It was because of her inspiration and her tenacity that the Gang Alternative Program began some 20 years ago. It now is in 4th grade elementary classrooms all across Los Angeles. She has always been a great inspiration and a strong Greek-American woman. And I want to just congratulate the Greek community and say that your contributions in so many areas have really made us such a better city, better neighborhoods, better communities. So congratulations to all of you today.
Mr. Zine.
I learned a word, axios. It's supposed to be a good word for the Greek people. Axios? Good? Thank you very much. Thank you, Nuge. I also want to offer my congratulations. I've been to the festival at the church in the past, and it's a wonderful event. Pete Demetrio, our great reporter from KFTV, his mom, dad are here. Wonderful Greek population here in the city of Los Angeles. And to all the Greek people, this is a city of great diversity, great unity. And to all the clergy, thank you. To see the clergy coming together, the different religious groups that are here representing the unity you have, all one belief in God. So congratulations to all of you, and a great festival once again. To all the Greek ministers, you folks are wonderful, and to our Armenian friends, and to the Catholics, and all the folks that are here. Congratulations, strong supporter of this, and it will be a wonderful event once again. And thank you for visiting our beautiful City Hall chambers. God bless you all. Thank you.
Mr. Lavange.
Mr. President, and if I can see His Eminence, thank you. Jan, I'm not going to ask you to move, but I'm going to ask you just to move to your right a little bit there. His Eminence, thank you so much. The Greek community, Father John, from the works of past and the works you've done with Mr. Reyes in the beautiful Latino Byzantine Square, which is wonderful, with some of these great workers from Reckitt Parks helped on, which we're going to honor a little later. Father Kay, thank you from Renee and everyone else for the good work you do, and all of you from the community. And Timi, for your work there. I just want to say it's so important to recognize history, because Los Angeles is history every day. And 100 years ago, as the Greeks came and found their house of worship, which is so important, and from that grew community. So I'm proud to stand here and salute you. I'm always proud to salute the Consul General for the great job that he has done. Consul General, please stand up and give him recognition for that. Demetrius Kabelos, we all drive home tonight, his home. He leaves his country to represent his country and our country, which is so special. But also the key to this great group of people found at one of the greatest events in the Olympic Games. And the Olympic Games are so special this year in China. We thank the Greeks for that. When I see the French, I thank them for the Statue of Liberty. When I see the Greeks, I thank them for the Olympics, because that's when the world comes together. And I also want to mention the great names of Ernie Zaffris, the late great man who did so much, who was a dear friend of John Ferraro, his son Jimmy Van, his nephew, brother-in-law, son-in-law, all that, who have done the work there. And also want to mention that Peggy Stevenson, who sat here, was the highest-ranking Greek and did a great job in forming the sister city with Athens, along with Mayor Tom Bradley and John Ferraro. It's a wonderful morning to be together and salute everyone. So I stand here and thank you and say, Parakalo.
And let me just add very briefly my good wishes, Your Eminence, and to all the clergy that is here, the city leaders and the business community, our Greek-American community. And I want to thank you, Mr. Reyes and Ms. Perry, for this wonderful presentation. If you look at the root for city and the root for politics, it's the same word in Greek, polis. And the two of them together are certainly celebrated here. The political life of this city is something that has been enriched by and made strong by the Greek-American community. And we praise you and thank you so much for being here today with us. Mr. Reyes.
We learn something every day. Thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge the Greek dancers. They didn't make it on time, but I want to acknowledge them for coming here and presenting their wonderful cultural representation of the Greek community. Thank you for coming here this morning. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Our next presentation will be from Council District 2. I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Wendy Gruhl.
Your turn.
Thanks, Ms. Perry. Thank you very much, Mr. President. It is with great honor today that I present a certificate and with a little bit of sadness that Claudia Culling, who has been with the city for 33 years and is retiring from the city of Los Angeles. She really has been one of our, from my perspective, I've known her for many years, but the City Council has counted on her for her knowledge and her expertise in the City Attorney's Office. When you leave, Claudia, there are going to be very big shoes to fill here in the City of Los Angeles. Claudia began her career working as an analyst in the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office in 1975. She covered issues of public safety, transportation, and personnel. While she was working very hard in the CLA during the day, she attended Loyola Law School at night. This is no easy feat to work a full-time job and go to law school. She graduated in 1979 and began working for the city attorney a few years later. And along the way, she met her husband, Keith, who recently retired from the position in the personnel department after 30 years of service. I think it's only been 30 days since he's been gone, so they're both going to be in retirement mode. She has served in many capacities for the city attorney, beginning with the land use of the civil branch, where she provided, expertise, drafted legislation, and handled litigation on planning, building and safety, and zoning issues for the city of Los Angeles. She also worked on housing, environmental, subdivision, relocation assistance, you name it. She has been there in the city attorney's office, and why she's been such a great resource for us to be able to ask those questions.
She also moved from that area to be the legal advisor to the Charter Commission. And so many of the changes that occurred, she rewrote most of that municipal and administrative code. So you can blame her for anything we don't like. In 2001, she worked on the new city attorney, and I know he'll talk about that transition team, as well as she went to work for the LAX, became the chief legal counsel for the LAX master plan for the LA World Airports. She recently returned to assist the chief deputy city attorney and executive management as special counsel to develop policies and procedures for the office. There are so many things, and there's one thing that my staff put in here that that we understand that when she was asked, Claudia said that her proudest accomplishment was writing in English. For those of you who do not speak legalese, we welcome that part of what Claudia did. And colleagues, I know she sat here, whether it be an executive session or in public session, and gave us excellent advice. She was always honest, forthright. She stood firm in her position, which we appreciated. She told us when she thought we were wrong. But most of all, she was the person you could call, ask a question, she'd give you a straight answer, and really was a person that made a difference here in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm proud that I have known her for decades, actually, during my time when I worked for Mayor Bradley. So it really is my honor, and before we present this proclamation, we have two city attorneys that are here, Rocky Delgadillo and Jim Hahn, who would also like to offer their words of congratulations and acknowledgement for her years of service. Rocky.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. This is a sad day because we are losing an extraordinary talent, legal and otherwise, from this city. It's also a proud day because we are celebrating an extraordinary career in this city hall. At a private event we had in the office, I compared Claudia to one of the pillars that holds up this building. And I think that is something that she is going to leave behind. Her body of work as a city attorney has held this building up in many different ways. She, from the very beginning, helped me to understand the city attorney's office. She was on the transition team. She helped me reorganize the place and put it in a place that I think has made it a more effective body today. But always with a sense of who she represents. And it was the community, the residents. She started there in all of her advice. And as the councilwoman pointed out, her advice always came in plain English, not in legalese. And that is her proudest accomplishment, and it is an example that she has set for all of us. It is with great honor and pride that I give to her her 30-year pin in the city. You know, and by the way, back then she interpreted the laws to allow a child to work in City Hall, and it was herself. So she has done a great job and has really been representative of the proudest traditions of the city attorney's office here in the great city of Los Angeles, and it is with great pride and honor that we celebrate your 30 years of work in the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations. 7 years with me, 16 with Jim Hahn. So I'd like to introduce the former city attorney, James Hahn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. One of the great honors I had was to be the city attorney of the city of Los Angeles and to work with such outstanding lawyers like Claudia Culling, who really, all the things that Rocky said were absolutely true. And I think she did enjoy the respect of so many of the members of the council here and other city departments because you could rely on what Claudia said. She didn't tell you what she thought right off the bat until she was absolutely sure she was right. And then don't try to argue with her and change your mind at that point, because she has done the research and she knows what she's talking about. Claudia and Keith certainly are a tremendous couple and really typify the wonderful people who work for the City of Los Angeles. And I also appreciated the outside perspective that Claudia brought to her job. She was commissioner, served on the Planning Commission and the Recreation and Parks Commission in Glendale. Is that right? So another city benefited from her wisdom and her real passion for public service. And I know the City Attorney's Office will not be able to fill the void that you're leaving, but somebody told me that you're going to still be available for anybody in the office who wants to give you a phone call and say, now, how did we do this? How did you make this work? Anyway, I want to wish you both the best in retirement. You've earned it. I really, really enjoyed working with you. Congratulations.
I think it speaks volumes when you see the number of city attorneys behind Claudia, who were there beside her, behind her, with her in the city attorney's office, and the respect and admiration that they have for Claudia Cullen. So it is my pleasure to be able to present this and ask Rocky and Jim to present this with us to Claudia for her outstanding service over the years, and congratulations, and a great round of applause for Claudia.
Thank you. And while that picture is being taken, Mr. Zine, I'd like to add your good wishes, Mr. Zine.
I want to say something.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do remember a few years back there was a charter, and I remember the hours that the Charter Commission dedicated to that. And I remember your participation in guidance in that. Janice, who stepped out of the room, both of us charter commissioners, and the dedication that you showed, in addition to whatever else you were doing for the City Attorney's Office, to put that charter together, that task of all tasks. So I do remember that, all the other wonderful work you've done on behalf of people of Los Angeles, the City Attorney's Office, and to have our two city attorneys, former city attorney and former mayor, and our current city attorney here showing their respect for you and the years that you've dedicated and the staff behind you. You've obviously made a tremendous impact on people's lives. I just wanted to offer my congratulations. Retirement is good. And the best part of retirement is the first of the month when that check comes in. That's the best part of it. So stay healthy, enjoy, and God bless, and many, many happy years in the future for you and your family. Thank you for all the dedicated years of service.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wendy, and thank you very much, council members, and thank you very much, Rocky and Jim, and all of the staff that I've worked with. I really... The city and I have had a mutually beneficial relationship over the many years I've been here. I've been particularly grateful that as an employer, the city honors the fact that its employees are people with lives outside the city as well. And as a result, I've had the flexibility to volunteer in classrooms, chaperone field trips, and attend every sporting and school function for my two sons, Greg and Dan. That's been really important to me. I appreciate that opportunity, and I believe it made me not only a better person, not to mention what it did for my children, but it made me a better employee as well. The city's also provided me with the opportunity to exercise my skills, knowledge, and abilities for the benefit of the citizens. In turn, I think I've given the city all my creativity, energy, dedication, and problem-solving efforts to make the city a better place to live and to assist government in operating legally and efficiently. And I've been very blessed to be able to have fun and challenging assignments while working here, and I've worked with wonderful people that I will miss. When I was in the CLA's office, I worked directly for the City Council, but in the City Attorney's office, I was also dedicated to being responsive to you, my client. And I hope that I leave responsiveness as a part of my legacy, the City Attorney's responsiveness. And as all of you who have worked with me directly know, I didn't follow the precept. I don't know if any of you remember George Buchanan, but he believed that no was a better answer than yes because it had fewer letters. I always tried to get you and all the client representatives that I worked with where you wanted to go. It wasn't always how you imagined you'd get there, but I always was dedicated to solving the problems that you had in a legally defensive way. The other legacy I hope to leave is the work, as you've heard, that I've done in both mentoring attorneys and developing office policies that require the city attorney work product to be in plain English. Many years ago, I was in, so you probably don't even know this, but the city council adopted a policy, and I was instrumental in talking them into it, I think. But as with policies, as with the case with policies, it's not always followed. And my one little lecture to you is that I really encourage all the city officials and the staff to write clearly and eliminate unnecessary legalese and bureaucratic jargon. The public has much better access to the city that way, and that's my soapbox. I'll get off of it. That you have many bright, dedicated, hardworking city employees, one fewer, of course, since Keith left 30 days ago. But I hope you appreciate all the hard work that city employees do for you and for the citizens of the city, and I thank you for the opportunity to have been able to serve.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And there'll be very tough shoes to fill in the city attorney's office, and she will be missed. But we know she is only a phone call away, particularly since she said she'd rather say yes more often than no. So we're going to work with her. But thank you very much, and thank you to the staff here. And we'll all go back and take some pictures if you have an opportunity. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Our next presentation will be Mr. Labange from Council District 4. Councilmember Labange. Oh, and Mr. Labange, while we're waiting for that to clear out, I want to recognize Mr. Smith to make an introduction in Van Nuys. Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much. This morning, the Board of Public Works recognized 3 schools in Los Angeles who had done extraordinary work. 2 of them are sitting in Van Nuys because originally the council meeting was going to be out there, and they were told to go to Van Nuys. So they're in Van Nuys. One of the schools made it downtown here. We want to stand up and recognize them. I have Karen Coca here from the Board of Sanitation, Mike Crosley and Steve Kazarias, who presented the awards, to maybe say a few words. But if I can, for those schools out in Van Nuys, and they're on the screen now, we want to recognize those schools. They are the New Heights Charter and Harding Street School, who won an award from the City of Los Angeles for their recycling education program. And they did extraordinary work. And I want to turn it over just for a moment to Steve, if I could. Steve, do you want to say, Steve, you want to introduce the program for me real quick?
My name is Steve Caceres. I'm the program manager for the City of Los Angeles LUSD recycling program. I'd like to apologize for the confusion for the sending those 2 wonderful schools over to the Van Nuys City Hall. I would like to take this time to congratulate them and to recognize them for a job well done for the recycling program that they have been involved with. Both these schools have gone above and beyond what is expected of them in the program. Both schools have developed a mentoring program so that the older students then teach the younger students on how to recycle, as well as developing a composting program that goes, again, above and beyond our traditional recycling program. These are 2 wonderful schools. I've actually been there personally on both campuses. I work very closely with the staff, and I'd like to take this time to congratulate both schools for winning part of the 2008 Recycling Excellence Awards.
Thank you very much. If I can add to the students and teachers that are in Van Nuys, what I said to the students this morning here was how proud we are of you. That 6 years ago when I was elected to council, I urged this city to become a model for the nation in recycling and reuse. And we have become that. The city leads the United States with 63% recycling now. We're the best in America, and we're very proud of that. But what's happening in our schools is also making us very proud. When I was elected, there were 4 schools in the LA Unified School District that had recycling programs. Now there are over 400 schools participating in our recycling program. So thank you to LAUSD. Thank you to our student winners. Keep up the great work. You're the future generations, because we have a lot of work to do. In America, they only recycle 20%. In Los Angeles, we're 63%, but in Europe, they're 90%. We have a long ways to go to catch up with the rest of the world, but Los Angeles is a shining star in the United States of America, and it's because of our students like those in Van Nuys and the Bureau of Sanitation. So congratulations to the Bureau, the teachers, and the students for participating, and thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for
giving us this award in our class and everything likes to thank you because we all like to recycle, and our community would love to keep it a clean environment.
We thank you very much for this award, and thank you for everything and recycling we love to do at New Heights Charter School. So thank you.
Thank you, President and council members. Our school, New Heights Charter School, is located in Council District 8, and we just want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving us this opportunity to keep our recycling program going.
And Harding Street Elementary School wants to thank you as well. The recycling program has just become second nature at our school, and we thank you all for your encouragement and for this award. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We appreciate it. God bless. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Mr. Labange for our next presentation.
Members, you know, from time to time on Friday, we bring in great city champions. Doesn't this look like a great city championship team? It is. It's our park maintenance people from Recreation and Parks. Give them a big hand. Come on up and join us. As you know, last May 8th in 2007, there was a horrific fire that destroyed over 1,000 acres in Griffith Park. Right as the fire was still burning, these men and women of the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks went in to help and restore Griffith Park. And I'm just very proud of them because I see all the hard work in their labors, because I work here at City Hall, but each morning I'm in Griffith Park hiking. And whoever did the work in Captain's Roost really did a lot
Mr.
of work
Labange, do us a favor, turn back this way because the folks at home can't hear you.
All right, I'll do that right now. Thank you for correcting me. Griffith Parks, this effort here is to salute those who did the work for the Department of Recreation and Parks. I'm going to call on Vicki Israel, the Assistant General Manager, on behalf of General Manager John Kirk Buckley, for a few remarks.
Thank you, Council President Garcetti and Council members, Council Member Tom Labange. This is just a great acknowledgement. We want to thank you on behalf of the department to really see the people who actually work. Our citywide facility repair, the Griffith region maintenance, under the leadership of Marilyn White, Mike Fay, Tom McCall, and Javier Solis. And I also want to thank each and every one of the members of the team that dedicated their hours to actually taking time away from their families, and we want to thank the families for allowing them to work every weekend until they cleaned up the park from the fire and the debris to make it safe and accessible to the public. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Israel, thank you very much for that. Give them a big hand, everybody. I also will say this, too. Because of their work, and also on the other side of your department, Mike Fay and team, they created a system and was implemented if there was no damage to any home during the storms of 2007, 2008. And everything but one trail is open. Is that right, Mike Fay?
That's right.
One trail is open. The bird sanctuary trail is still got to be fixed. And Marshall, we need a tree for Saul Shankman up there by the tennis courts. You're going to be able to do that for me, Marshall? Get out here, Marshall. Get Marshall up here right now. Come here, Marshall. Here's the guy. Come on, give him a hand. This guy did a lot of the work, the hand-to-hand work that was there. I know his mother passed this year, and he got strength from coming to work every day and doing the extra work and doing the wonderful job, Marshall. I personally want to call you out, as I would call each and every one of you out. I don't mind having my back to the President of the City Council because I'm looking at the hardest working crews in any city in the country. And I'm very proud of each and every one of you for what you've done to create the revitalization of Griffith Park. Let's give them all a big hand right now. And Marilyn, Javier, Tom, Vicki, I'm on Mike Fay. Look at Mike Fay right here. Here's another big guy. I got to pull him out here. Mike's got boots on. Mike has never met a tractor he doesn't like.
That's right.
And he's able to work them. And who was the gentleman, Johnny Aguilar? Where is he?
on vacation.
John Kay, he did all the work on opening up the fire roads, Chief. They opened up the fire roads so in the event of an emergency in the future. It's a special morning. We're all here together. Each and every one of you will get an individual commendation. And I would like to ask now that the Los Angeles City Council hereby salute the Department of Recreation and Parks, Special Forces of Recreation and Parks. Give them a big hand. We're going to go in the back room and we'll call you all out individually. You can sit back down right now for a second. And then we'll go there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Mr. Zine to come out here. Dennis Zine, Dennis P. Zine. Well, we're going to go in the back in a minute and we'll have a little fun.
While Dennis is making his way forward, Mr. Weiss, did you want to introduce a group of students that's here? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Labange. We'll wait.
Good. 1 second. Andy. Mr. Weiss.
KFWB.
Mr. Weiss, did you want to, I'm sorry. Good, thank you very much. Mr. President, joined here by Mr. Dennis Zine, who we all know, but also we have the program director. And Andy, I want to, because I said Ludlow, and I want to correct me because I want to be on the air and say it right there.
Turn the mic.
Go, here we
All
go.
right. Ludlum.
Ludlum. Isn't that a radio voice? Andy, give that to me again, right?
Ludlum.
Andy Ludlum, program director for KFWB. And for 40 years, they've been doing all news. Give us 22 minutes, we will give you the world. And they did it for 40 years, and we wanted to salute you for 40 years. And I remember in 1968, I was going to John Marshall High, and I went up to the back steps of KFWB off of Hollywood Boulevard and said goodbye to color radio, which was so much part of rock and roll. And as you remember, Dennis, when you were at Notre Dame High School?
No, I was on the police department.
You were on the police department then, but you were still listening to rock and roll. But that was then, and this is now. And for 40 years, we've turned to KFWB whenever there's been a challenge in our city or nationwide or around the world. KFWB is one of the great stations of our community and went on the air from Warner Brothers Studios right at 5800 West Sunset Boulevard, where Channel 5 is. From their location there, they moved up to Hollywood Boulevard, where they would come up with that very famous slogan, you give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world. The studio and its transmitters moved throughout the sites around Southern California, but they have a rich history, a very rich history, and they have focused on informing the public. I just wanted to thank KFWB on this 40th anniversary. I have a commendation here signed by the mayor and members of the city council, as well as our controller and our city attorney to make sure it's legal. But the one thing that's so important is people need to know news, and they need to hear it. And I know I got you to meet Pete Demetrio's mother, who was here when we honored the Greeks just moments ago for their 100th year of immigration to Los Angeles, but also that you know the value of all your team there who do such a great job at KFWB. I'm going to call on my colleague, Mr. Dennis Zine, for some remarks.
Thank you, Tom Labange. The history of KFWB is very, very long in the city of Los Angeles. I can remember it being a native of Los Angeles, color radio, KFWB, Al Jarvis, Make Believe Ballroom, Bill Balance, all the wonderful folks, Gene Weed, all the wonderful folks at KFWB. Then it made that transition from a music station. There was KRLA, KHJ, Boss Radio in the history of Los Angeles, and then it went to news. And a lot of people question, why would it go to news? Well, at that time in the 60s, news was coming around a different environment. And as we see today, you give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world, traffic reports, constantly. And when there's traffic congestion, they even give more traffic reports. Rhonda Kramer. Double trouble traffic with Rhonda Kramer in the traffic center. So KFWB has a long, long history, and we turn to KFWB for the news. I'm glad you got rid of baseball. I love baseball, but the fact is we want news, we want news. And KFWB is now all news, all the time, with live anchors 24 hours a day. And Larry Carroll, one of my good friends, a constituent of mine. And I know you moved from, as Tom said, Hollywood Boulevard to Yucca. You were at Yucca, and then now you moved to the Miracle Mile. Correct. And the station continues to prosper. And ownership, I remember, was Group W, Westinghouse Broadcasting, and it's gone through a number of transitions.
Now it's CBS.
Now it's CBS Radio. And the bottom line is KFWB is there for the people of Los Angeles who need to commute, who need to know the news, and the links with CNN, You got your CNN correspondent. So my congratulations for the history of KFWB here in Los Angeles, serving this great community, and to all your staff, all your anchors, the reporters, the writers. We have Bill Cooper here. Bill Cooper hiding over there. Who's the City Hall? Bring over, Bill Cooper, our City Hall correspondent, who's the man on the beat here at Los Angeles City Hall, covering the news. Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper. See, people never see the face. They talk about people in radio that you have a face for radio. Now, they will tell me I have a face for radio. Bill
That's
Cooper,
why we believe so much in theater of the mind.
theater of the mind. And Bill Cooper has a face for television and radio, but our viewers listen to Bill Cooper. He's got a face for radio. That's what they say. But he's got a face for television. But Bill Cooper is here covering City Hall, interviewing, making people of Los Angeles aware of the situation that take place here. And anytime a crisis breaks out, KFWB is there on the scene. And I remember one of your reporters, I'll never forget, when I was a sergeant with the LAPD, Car 98. Car 98. Gary Franklin, God bless him, he passed away, but Gary Franklin and Charles Surgis, who used to cover City Hall. All those folks that were KFWB for many, many years, keeping LA informed. So congratulations to you and the staff. I'm happy to join my colleague Tom LaBonge up here and recognizing the wonderful work KFWB does for the people of LA. When you want news, you go to KFWB. You want traffic, go to KFWB. You're bored, go to KFWB. They're there for you all the time. That's great. 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good.
Thank you. I'm done. Hey, Bill, why are you going over here? Come over here. We're not done. We'll do some pictures with you.
Andy, I want
Back to Tom LaBonge and the anchor.
Andy, say a few words on behalf of KFWB.
Well, I know I don't have to write any more promos for a while, at least. Thank you both, Councilman LaBonge, Councilman Zine. We're honored with this recognition. As you mentioned, we're for decades we were in the Hollywood area. Now we're in Councilman Wesson's district in the Miracle Mile. Your district too? Okay, all right.
Sorry, Herb.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure, but
we're practically in the
by Olympic Boulevard there.
Okay. Anyway, I guess what I wanted to say is all of you have been very supportive of KFWB over the many years, and we certainly we've always appreciated that in the 40 years. As it was mentioned before, people thought we were crazy 40 years ago when we gave up the top 40 format that had been successful and been so much a part of people's lives. But at that time and today, we thought that we could be successful by dedicating ourselves to reflecting the city of Los Angeles and all the creativity and innovation and energy and diversity that's represented there. And I'd certainly like to thank this body, the City Council, over the years for you sharing your passions and your interests and the things that really got you into politics and serving the community, because you've shared all those with our listeners, and you've made us very, very interesting. I can't promise the early morning phone calls will end, but we do very much appreciate your support, and on behalf of the current staff and the staffs of the last 40 years, we very much appreciate this recognition today.
Andy, thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to go back. KFWB. Hey, can you do the beat
Before you
right
go,
there?
Mr. Wesson would like to say a few words.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I'll get you in my district when we redistrict. I'll cut a deal. Okay. I'll cut a deal with LaBonge.
I don't want to get into one of those things.
I'll cut a deal with him. Anyway, what I want to say is that your station, and I mean this seriously, is a class act. And I think that it's balanced, it's fair, and the people that work there get their fingernails dirty, they get the truth. Pete Demetrio I've known for, 21 years. And Bill, I have to say this about Bill. Not only is he an exceptional journalist, radio guy, he is the best dressed person to ever work in the media. So I think that his wife must be independently wealthy. But anyway, thank you for all that you do, and we'll see you again 40 years from now.
We'll be here. We'll be here.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaBonge.
Madam Clerk, could you hit the buzzer real quick?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Hit the buzzer real quick when the time expires.
Okay.
At the time of the tone, 11:20 here at KFWB.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. LaBonge.
40th anniversary.
And good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you. I have an introduction. Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask the kids from Warner Avenue School if you guys could stand up. If we could ask the cameras to pan out to the kids in the audience. We have with us the third grade from Warner Avenue Elementary, Ms. Taniguchi's class. There you guys are. You guys wave. You're going to be on Channel 35 tonight. Welcome to Warner Avenue School, third grade. Thanks, guys.
Madam Clerk, before we go on to Mr. Garcetti, would you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Cardenas, Grill, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 12 members present, and a quorum, Madam President.
There's also
Mr. Garcetti, thank you very much.
Somebody left a notebook here if anybody's looking for a notebook. I want to thank you, Madam President, and thank you, members of the Council. For our last presentation today, we have a very special group of young people here. And Mr. Reyes and I, representing the Echo Park area, want to welcome them. I certainly, not just as a representative of the area, but as a resident of Echo Park, we have a group of young students who decided to tackle a very vexing problem that we have in Echo Park Lake. And Mr. Larry Simonson and his 9th grade students from the Civitas School of Leadership are here to present their findings on a scientific study of the water quality of Echo Park Lake and its effect on the lotus flowers and plants that famously grow there. As we've seen in recent years, the lotus plants, which we celebrate every year with the Lotus Festival, the largest festival I think we have any of the Rec and Parks facilities in Los Angeles, each year we celebrate that, but there are fewer and fewer lotus flowers in the last couple years. So they did a study, a scientific study, putting their minds to this problem. And their study included measuring temperature, pH levels, dissolved oxygen, chlorine, and conductivity at the lake. And as a comparison, these students also conducted research at Ganawalska Lotus Land in Santa Barbara. So they went and they visited another location where there's lotuses to provide some comparative data on the habitat of lotus. The students have come to share their findings with us, but before they do, I'd like to quickly recognize all of the students that were part of this research team. These are the future scientists, the future leaders, the future businesswomen and businessmen and businesswomen, the future council members maybe right here that are before us. But let's recognize Rachel Reyes, Alejandro Bunag, Vidolfo Castro, Jessica Yomila Zoy, Frank Lopez, Ivan Calderon, or Ivan Calderon, I don't know if you go by either one, Catherine Castillo, Suleima Alvarez, Luis Solis, Edwin Espinosa, Jean Sunga, Jacqueline Solis, Teresa Avalos, Jose Peña, and Stephanie Venegas. Let's give them a great round of applause for the great work that they did. And I'd like to recognize now their teacher, Mr. Simonson, say a couple words, and then I think we're going to be hearing from Catherine and Edwin about what they found out. So, Mr. Simonson.
Good morning, council members. President Garcetti pretty much set it up well. Our school, Civitas School of Leadership, is one of the new Belmont pilot schools. The mission of our school is civic engagement, which basically is an attempt to honor, to answer that kind of cherished, age-old question that we get from students every year: why do I have to know this? So we wanted to put that to work early this year and early in the history of our school. This is the very first class of students at Civitas. So when we were able to find a problem right in our own neighborhood to study, we put the students to work. And it's really a great opportunity. They got a chance to do that. So I'm going to ask Edwin and Catherine to come up and read very briefly just an overview of what they found.
My name is Catherine, and we are from Civitas School of Leadership High School, and we are one of Belmont Pilot High Schools.
My name is Edwin, and we studied the water in Echo Park Lake and in the Lotus Pond at Ganawalska Lotus Land in Santa Barbara to see if the water in Echo Park might be harming the lotus plants there.
And the lotus plants at Echo Park are dying, but the exact same species, Nelumbo nucifera, is growing and thriving at Lotus Land.
We measured temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, conductivity, and chlorine. We measured these things because research articles and people who work at aquatic nurseries say that they all could have an effect on how well lotus plants grow.
When we compared our data from Echo Park with our data from Lotus Land, the results were very similar. All of our measurements from both locations fell within the same range. This suggests that the water quality of Echo Park Lake water might not be the reason that the lotus plants there are doing so poorly.
There are other variables that should be taken into consideration. heavy metals like lead in the soil, animals eating the tubers or stems, or disease are all possible reasons for the condition of the lotus plants.
We would like to give you our report and ask those who read it would give us feedback on our work. Thank you for your time.
Just as a wrap-up, I think one of the things that the students learned about science this year is that there isn't always a magic bullet. What you do is if you eliminate variables until you're left with one that makes sense. So it seems like water quality is one that they were able to put in question. The students have a thank you card, which looks like it's from Costco because it's kind of oversized here. But it's a poster of the students at work at Echo Park using their instruments and doing the actual science. It took about 5 months for them to get their data. So we're just really grateful for the opportunity that President Garcetti's office has given us to actually make the mission of the school real for the students in its very first year. So thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Madam President. This shows the great work that they did here, and thank you to all of us here and for helping out. We are this much closer to solving the mystery, and I look forward to these students joining with us. I think it's in about a year and a half we're going to be draining Echo Park Lake to completely clean it under Proposition O. So I look forward to some 11th graders then joining us to see if we can solve the mystery. Maybe when we get down there into the lake bed, we'll see what's happening, if it's the tubers, if it's some sort of the heavy metals, as you mentioned. And I hope you'll join with us, and thanks for contributing to the great city of Los Angeles. We appreciate it. Thanks very much, Madam President. You guys want to come in the back? We'll take a photo all together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti, and to all the students and their teacher. That was the last of our presentations for today. So, Madam Clerk, let's go to the agenda. What's the first item?
Approval of the minutes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, we have to quiet down a little bit in the chamber here on the sides. It's difficult to hear. Miss Gruhl, did you want to speak?
No, I just want to call it special item.
All right, great. Okay.
We'll get to it. Next is commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, without objection.
Let's see. Madam President, there are requests to continue item number 4, continued to June 11.
All right, that'll be granted without objection.
Next is items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. Madam President, item number 2 has a card.
All right, we will hear that item. I think Ms. Gruhl has
Madam President, item 1 does not have a card and can be voted on now.
All right, we'll open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote. 12 ayes. Next item.
Next are items number 3 through 7, with the exception of number 4. Those are items which public hearings have been held. Reports have been submitted for those items.
Ms. Gruhl? Okay, great. All right, without objection.
Item 3 will call special.
You want to open the roll on any other items in this section?
Continue item 4 till the 11th of June.
All right, we'll continue item 4 to the 11th of June.
Madam President, the vote should be for items 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote. 12 ayes.
Next are items 8 through 19, and those are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And Madam President, there are cards on 13, 15, and 19.
Okay.
And all the rest are good on?
All right, and all the rest, did you want to continue 20?
20 for 1 week.
Wait, item 20 will be continued for 1 week. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead and open the roll on the items that we have before us now. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote. 12 ayes. Okay. Next item.
Next is items 20 through and 21, and those are items which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, Mr. Zine.
I'd like to hold 20 on the desk until we have some matters resolved on number 20.
All right, so you don't want to continue it for a week then?
No. We'd like to move it, but we have some questions, and hopefully we'll get them resolved before it comes up.
All right, so we'll hold 20 on the desk for now.
Thank you.
Madam President, item 21 has a card.
All right, great. Thank you. Special.
Next is the special meeting. Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Weston, Zine, Garcetti, 12 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay, meeting is called to order. What is first item on the special meeting agenda?
Item 22 is the mayor's veto message. No action is required at this time for this one. Next is item number 23, and that is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And Madam President, there is a card on item 23.
Yes, thank you.
At this point, would you like to continue item 23 to the regular agenda and adjourn
Yes.
the special meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and that brings council back to public comments.
All right. Public comment. Our first public speaker will be Michael Hubman.
Good morning. My name is Michael Hubman. I'm a human rights and homeless rights activist. The sheep and the goats. When the Son of Man comes in all his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink.
Within the jurisdiction of the
I was
city?
a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in
Mr.
prison,
City
and
Attorney,
you came to
why
visit
don't we
me."
hold your time, sir, for a second?
Then
You're off topic.
The right...
Can you hold your time?
I don't believe this is within the jurisdiction of the city.
It is. It's the way we treat the homeless. This goes to the way we treat the homeless, okay? Please? All right. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, what did you say?" Lord will answer him, "Lord, when did you say you were hungry and we fed you, or thirsty or you gave you something to drink? When did you see that you were a stranger and you invited me in?" And the king will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did for the least of these brethren of mine, you did for me." This, I maintain, is the other great commission. So, members of the Los Angeles City Council, for God's sake, don't be a goat, be a sheep.
Thank you very much, sir. Fabiola Wright is our next speaker.
Good morning. Pursuant to Section 245, Article 2 of the Charter of the City of Los Angeles, I am here to request for the Building and Safety Commissioner's action denied on May 20th to be brought before you. This is a case wherein the City Council needs to review and take as a model so that they fix the contradictive codes, rules, and regulations that are hurting the citizens of Los Angeles economically and emotionally. And if not fixed, it will be very detrimental for all homeowners in Los Angeles. It affects all of us. I have distributed a brief summary of the facts. I am respectfully requesting the City Council for a vote to bring this matter before you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs.
Good morning, Council. Arnold Sachs. A few things to clear up. Congratulations to the Sunshine Canyon Landfill Authority for meeting. My complaint was not really about the 6,600 tons that's gone missing, but the dumbass excuse that was given by the County Board of Supervisors that's akin to my dog ate, to a first grader's
Excuse me, Madam
speech
President.
about my dog ate.
The speaker should be told to keep his comments within the decorum of City Council.
Excuse me? Could you hold my time? Because Sunshine Canyon Landfill has a City Council member sitting on it, Mr. City Attorney, and it's great that you stick up for the City Council. Can we get a City Attorney that sticks up for the public? If the City Council member sits on the commission, then it's City Council business. I take it. Now I'd like to get my time back.
I was referring to your lack of decorum.
what would be the decorum that was lacking? Okay. I'd also like to make a comment about Laura Richardson making the news lately. It's not really about the defaulting that she's accused of, but the bank continuing to let her refinance with a default on her credit rating that should be investigated. And I'd also like to thank the Transportation Board, or Transportation Commission, for their tremendous work they did on the Halicab program. It's really amazing to follow the legislation that went through with the Transportation Commission and then the Transportation Committee, and the in-depth analysis of this Halicab program that's going to be started in this city. I do have a couple of questions. When hailing a cab, can you use your left hand or your right hand? Can you hail with a finger? Some other things I'd like to talk about. The in-depth analysis of the Halicab. Where was the in-depth analysis for the committees on construction committees with the Gold Line, the Foothill Construction Authority, and the Expo Mid-City Construction Authority? Thank you for your time, your answers, and
Thank
your
you very much,
attention.
Mr. Sachs. Merv Evans is our next speaker, and then we'll go to Sharon Brewer out in the San Fernando Valley. Good morning, Mr. Evans.
Okay, it's election time on Tuesday, and I want to strongly urge all our citizens to get out and vote. Recently, a number of you may have gotten a mailing with a pretty red face of a local congressman person on it. Well, that's not reliable information. What's reliable information is the Los Angeles Times editorial board, the county's local bar examinations, and a well-rating qualified. Also, reliable information is the South Los Angeles Voter Guide, and I'd strongly urge all our South Los Angeles residents to go to South Los Angeles Voter Guide. I also want to take a minute and acknowledge Candido Moreras. Mr. Moreras is an outstanding citizen with enormous talent, outstanding fiscal skills, a high level of financial integrity, and would make an excellent city controller next year. And I'd strongly urge him to take a shot at it. Outstanding leadership, outstanding vision. You're the right man. Let me share one other issue with you. I am profoundly concerned that this city financially established some fiscal basis of responsible judgment. I believe you have outstanding leadership skills, and the fiscal crisis that the city faces can be met and dealt with effectively. But our citizens have a responsibility on Election Day to carry their responsibility out and make sure that they exercise their democratic privilege. And I certainly want them to exercise it for Merv Evans. Thank you. Look forward to your support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evans. Sharon Brewer is our next speaker, and then Bruce Darien out in the San Fernando Valley. Good morning.
Morning. Sharon Brewer, public comment. City Council continues to deplete the city's general fund by approving special event fee waivers 3 times a week, some with no amount given, some say city will be reimbursed. Why are special event fee waivers approved without a dollar amount given? Blank check to city funds. City Council should never approve anything with no dollar amount given. Why are events that say they will reimburse the city allowed to have their event use city staff and then pay the city? Does the city require a deposit before events take place? Council members, please tell me where I can get information showing that all events have reimbursed the city and the amount of each event. City council members, you have depleted the city general fund by $2,848,083 from July 2007 to December 2007, and $2,570,457 from January 2008 through May 2008. July 2007 through May 2008 amount waived by city council members more than $5.5 million in 11 months, 3 times a week. 956 events with amounts, 225 reimbursed, 31 no amount given. Special event fee waivers impact the general fund negatively. The agenda should state this in writing, and the total of the special event amounts should also appear on the agenda before the individual events listed. For public information, city council members, I remind you that the Financial policy of Los Angeles fee waiver policy states from time to time, council may decide to waive fees when it can be demonstrated that a direct public benefit can be attained. 956 events in 11 months is not from time to time. City Council, you are abusing the fee waiver policy. Stop abusing the city's fee waiver policy. Stop event fee waivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Bruce Darian, also in Van Nuys, is our next speaker, and then Nativo Lopez.
Morning, City Council, President Garcetti. My name is Bruce Darian. I'm a candidate for mayor here in Los Angeles. I'm here this morning to discuss the safety of cranes in the city. Unfortunately, this morning, I was watching on CNN, a crane went down in New York, and 20 stories high, crane toppled into the building next to it, killing at least one person. There was an expert from McGraw-Hill that came on and discussed how cranes can go down, stating that there really, in many instances, is not the required expertise to manage these cranes and how they're rigged and operated, and that if there's a rigging error that will compromise the safety factor, and there's another component that happens to the crane, hitting something or dragging up against something can cause the crane to fail. There was a crane that went down off the 405. There was certainly the project that I'm a whistleblower on, the Malibu Pier debacle, government debacle, and cover-up. The crane went down at the Malibu Pier. It was certain that the crane was going to topple as it was an improper crane with the weight capacity. That crane must fall as it did at the Malibu Pier, destroying public property. I suggest that the cranes be inspected by competent engineers on a regular basis and be certified to their safe-worthiness in the city of Los Angeles. I did call 911 regarding a crane on La Brea between Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard about 4 months ago. It did not appear to me that the counterweights were set properly. The fire department came out, asked the construction workers if everything was okay with they responded, I will say, quite quickly to see if the crane was okay. Those workers said that everything was okay and they left. Now let me point this out. As they said this morning, McGraw-Hill, the expert, said, those construction workers do not have the authority, one, to speak for the crane, nor do they have the expertise to know if, in fact, that crane was safe. Now, as it turns out, I'm assuming the crane was rigged properly. However, the counterweights were not. They were set at a diagonal. I had never seen weights like that, and I made a call in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darian. Our next speaker is Nativo Lopez. After that will be Zuma Dog.
I'd like to hold my comments until the presentation regarding the Burr-Corona Day.
Which one?
The resolution.
21. So you want to speak on 21? Sure.
Thank you.
No problem. You got it. Thank you, Nativo. Zuma Dog is our next speaker for general public comment. Then we'll go back out to Van Nuys for Rick Nightingale.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, City Council. Good morning, City of Los Angeles. I just had a great day. Again, activism, diversity. I was just at the Bong Won Kim down in Koreatown. The mayor was just there with Bong Won Kim, and I got the mayor to say, "Hey, let me take a picture." I have my Zuma Dog for Mayor shirt on, and I said, "Gee, Mayor, will you support me for mayor?" I go, "Come on, if you support me for mayor, I'll support you." And so I go, "We'll co-sponsor each other." So he took a picture of me, and then from the podium, with cameras rolling, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa said, "Zuma Dog, candidate." So thank you, Mayor, for officially kicking off my Zuma Dog for Mayor campaign. And I'd just like to say, not only would I like to see Candido Merez as controller, I'd like to see Carmen Hooch as city attorney. Carmen Nooch for city attorney instead of Jack Weiss. And then we also have problems in the neighborhood council system because this was about Bong Won Kim getting sworn in as the Dunn general manager. And I got to talk to Mr. Kim personally to express my concern that the neighborhood council system is basically a big RICO violating racketeering violation. The purpose of neighborhood council is not to have council members back their own candidates. It's supposed to be an independent body that's supposed to work with council. And I don't know if it's illegal, but it's certainly unethical if city council members are handpicking candidates, especially outside of the neighborhoods, and just backing a bunch of candidates to see what sticks. So here's what I'm here to say. This is how we lose control of the city. Here we have an independent body that's supposed to be separate, and then they flood them. It's racketeering. And so this June 3rd is Jose Aguilar, Boyle Heights president, Hugo Pacheco, Lincoln Heights president, and we need to take back the city. Zuma Dog for mayor, take back the city.
Our next speaker is Rick Nightingale out in the San Fernando Valley. Then we'll come back here for Walter Bechtel.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
This is regarding, they had a bunch of open comment regarding the people that think that they deserve housing in the city of Los Angeles that was, and they're about rent control, I guess, because of it's getting too expensive for them to live here. That was Wednesday, I believe it was. I don't understand where anybody thinks that the city or anybody else owes somebody a place to live or help support them to live or otherwise. My parents turned around and came here, and they couldn't afford to live in Los Angeles in 1941, so they moved out to the San Fernando Valley. It was like a desert, just like Palmdale was back then. And this is where I grew up all my life in the San Fernando Valley. If you can't afford to live here, and that is very true, it's very expensive to live here, that is why. Palmdale, Riverside, and so forth. This is where, if you want to live in the city of Los Angeles, you have to go. If you people didn't have, I hate to say it, a sanctuary city, and all the people coming here and living here, and the city supporting these people and so forth, then it wouldn't be overcrowded. And you wouldn't be having 2 families and more living in an apartment building that is unsafe, and the city don't have enough manpower to turn around and go and check on this, because my family owns a building, and next door they turn around and have 6 kids and 2 families living in a little 2-bedroom. It's completely unsafe, but they won't do anything about it because they say they don't have the manpower and they just don't want to do anything about this. So I'm sorry, but I feel sorry for these people, but you know, we don't owe them any place to live or anything else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Walter Bechtel here in Council Chambers. After that will be David Runish.
Hello. Yeah, I wasn't going to come back here except for Councilmember Parks sent me a birthday card. I wanted to thank Councilmember Parks for my birthday card, which included on the cover of the card my date of birth. I was thinking that's a wonderful thing to have my date of birth on there. Maybe next year he could send me a birthday card with my Social Security number on it. Another thing, I notice in the city there's a lot of people who are misrepresenting people and things that I sponsor. First of all, and even on TV, I am not sponsoring any presidential candidate at all. The only candidate I would be sponsoring is Al Gore, because he should have been the president the last time. So I don't appreciate anybody getting up there and making subtle innuendos about 4 silver spoons in their mouth as if I was supporting them. I'm not. Also, I am not supporting Props 98 or 99. Some people feel that my issues against the city absconding with my hotel enjoins my support of Prop 98 or 99. I'm not supporting either one because I don't believe in eliminating rent control on the one hand, but on the other hand, I don't think that if somebody wants to convert his home or business to an apartment, that should lay him open to have his property be attached by the city for some obscure reason, like making it into some kind of a maintenance building or something. Who knows? So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bechtel. Our next speaker is David Runish. Good morning.
Hello. I'm calling to advocate an immediate City Council resolution to expand rent control to all renters in the city of Los Angeles for 2 reasons. First, because of the justice of the thing, and that no one should be discriminated against, so everyone should be included in rent control. Secondly, this coming Tuesday, there's a vote on Prop 98. Everyone knows about that. And I think that it would provide a much-needed incentive for all renters not covered by rent control to come out and actually vote against it. Presently, I don't think they have that incentive, and it would be very worthwhile. I realize it's late in the day, but it is the thing to do now, an immediate resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a point of information, I know it's under state jurisdiction. Any changes to rent control law are prohibited under the city level, but the state is where that law could change. That closes our general public comment. If we can take up, I think we're still waiting for Department for CD14 on number 2, so number 3. If we could take that up first, and I'd like to recognize our Vice Chair of our Budget and Finance Committee, Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you very much, and thank you to my colleagues on the committee. We met on Tuesday on the final financial status report for the City of Los Angeles during this year. And as we all know, this has been a very difficult budget year. And we have tried to address in this budget some of the items that we needed to make sure were funded for this fiscal year and some for next year. I'm going to call the CAO and CLA up to the table on FSR. Your last FSR presentation, Ms. Sisson, before...
We weren't allowed to do a regular presentation, so we're going to do it at the table there.
And colleagues, this has as many other financial status reports that we've had this year, and I want to thank the department because the CAO has come in on several. I don't know how many FSRs we've had this year, but more than we've had in the past. 5, okay. Which I think is important, colleagues, because we don't want to wait until the last moment to know some of the issues. It's allowed us, and the leadership of Mr. Parks as chairperson, is the importance of knowing how we're spending to make sure departments are living within their means, as well as ensuring when there's been unintended kind of costs associated with that, as well as revenue drops, which I know we have had this year. And so I just want to thank the departments as well who went through each of the items. And if you could make a brief presentation, I know Mr. Smith will follow me as the other ranking member of the Budget and Finance Committee, but maybe just for our colleagues, give a quick update on some of the revenue aspects of this and any kind of highlight on the expenditures as well. Thank you.
And I will be
and
brief.
Just hold my time.
I will be brief. We did have a rather thorough discussion in committee, but I do want to remind us all that this has been one of the more challenging fiscal years that the city has faced. And on the revenue side, during the discussions on the fiscal year 2009 budget, the members of the Budget and Finance Committee did raise some very good questions about where the city's revenues were going and whether they would hold in 2009. In terms of this year-end fiscal financial status report, I think the important thing for everyone to know is that our property tax receipts through May are about $21 million short, and that is mostly due to a shortfall in secured current year receipts. It's offset by about $3.5 million surplus in redemptions, but those redemptions usually are the result of foreclosures. So while we are getting money in the door, that's not a good economic trend. We're currently analyzing the shortfall, and we will know probably in late June or July whether this is due to a drop in the collection rate or if it's related to a technical problem in the remittance of our property tax from the county. And we will be closely monitoring all of our revenues and reporting back to Budget and Finance. Mr. Serrano will be here to update you on how our revenue is at the year end and be keeping you up to date through the summer. On page 2 of the report, we do give you an update, and you can see that the city has made tremendous progress this year in addressing what was at one point a $155 million deficit. And I think in that light it is very important to acknowledge the hard work of our general managers, the actions taken by the mayor and the council in bringing this deficit under control. Basically, the report identifies about $8.2 million in additional surpluses to transfer to the unappropriated balance, and we are projecting that we will need about $8.1 million from the reserve fund in order to balance the budget this year. To put that in perspective, the $8.1 million is not too bad. The average over the last 3 or 4 years has been between $15 and $17 million that we have needed to take out of the reserve fund at the end of the year, so this is a good trend. We also had reported that so far, the governor's May revise has been relatively kind to the city of Los Angeles. The 1B money, of course, being bond money, is safe, and there is no proposal to borrow Prop 42 funding. However, the state did see a small shortfall in their Prop 42 revenues, and that is going to decrease the city share by about $1.7 million. I think that basically gives you a summary of what's going on in this financial status report. Again, I think we find ourselves, relative to the fiscal challenges we've been facing this year, in a pretty good position, and we're here to answer any questions.
And I just want to point out on the item with the county and the property tax, I know that we are talking to them about the fact that it seems odd, some of the numbers, and to see if there's some accounting errors over there as they're going forward for that deficit. And I think it is an item in which we know not only are we going to have this FSR now, but part of what we looked at in the instructions was to get periodic reports so we can be prepared, so we don't have to find millions of dollars later on if we have a problem in the beginning. So colleagues, I know Mr. Smith's going to address the issue of gangs. We have some questions in the mayor's office on the gang item and the ability to move forward to ensure that we're expending the dollars in a quick and efficient manner in a way in which fits in a broader policy. And so with that, Mr. Garcetti, I would yield to the next speaker, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Gruhl, for your explanation. Two issues. First of all, this is the last day that Karen Sisson will grace our chambers. We've already officially said goodbye, but this is the last opportunity publicly to thank you for your grace, thank you for your professionalism. We all wish you very well. And I'm not going to beat you up on your last day here, so I'm just not going to do that. But,
welcome leave.
For a change, it's nice. We're going to be nice today. But I did want to thank you. In members of the council, what you saw, we've already gone through the budget extensively with the MSR and a few other issues in the last few weeks of the budget. This committee is going to take a very proactive role in the next year, looking at numbers as they come in, not on a quarterly basis, not on a 6-month or yearly basis, but as every single item in the budget comes in, every revenue stream comes in, every opportunity to make changes comes forward, where we've already agreed to meet on a regular basis as those numbers become available, because we know this is going to be a very volatile year. There are indications of recession. There are indications there is not a recession. There are politicians saying it's the worst recession in history, even though there's nothing to prove that. But once people say that, it becomes reality, and once reality takes in people's minds, people stop spending. Once they stop spending, our revenues decrease. And so there's tremendous volatility in the marketplace and in our economy, and we're going to take action a lot this year. You're going to see the CAO and the CLA before this body a lot this year as we deal with those issues. One issue came up last week, and I'd like to ask the mayor's office to join us, Jeff, if you would, on the issue of the gang money, the $2.7 million that was set in the UB for the gang programs and the program you brought forward. And you have a proposal that is now here today answering, I believe, the questions that were asked, and I believe answered the consternation that I and some of the committee members had last week on whether or not to release that money. For the council's understanding, what the committee report says is the $2.7 million that was in the UB will remain in the UB, and that we did some things. They said, you go show us the contract from the county, we'll release the money, but we're going to freeze the money for that. If you haven't spent it by July 1, we'll automatically bind it over to next year's budget. But the answer, I think the questions that we asked and the concerns we have maybe have been answered. So Jeff or Ari, if you would like to explain the $2.7 million plan now, I believe, from what I have seen, and I think Ms. Gruhl agrees with me, has looked at it, that I believe the questions are answered, that our concerns have been resolved, and that maybe we should go ahead and now release that 2.7. So, Ms. Carr or Ms. Arif, either one of you.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Smith, and it's good to be here. We do understand that there's been some confusion about why we proposed to move this $2.7 million into the mayor's office account. And I think we've done a good job of explaining our overall goals for the Gang Reduction and Youth Development program and what we're trying to do. But I think we've not been as clear as we could and exactly about where the funding would come from to pay for our effort. And I really think this was an oversight on our part, and it's understandable that you all would want some more information. Now, we've sought to remedy this by providing a document that includes a description of not only the program, but with an accounting of the expected expenditures and revenues. And I think all the members have received that. And I hope this will satisfy your concerns about this program and how it's going to be funded. But I think you can see that the $2.7 million in the unappropriated balance, it really is required for us to be able to get all 12 gang reduction and youth development zones up and running as quickly as possible. And as you recall, we actually proposed to establish 12 gang reduction youth development zones across the city. Our plan is to implement and to invest $1.5 million in each one of those 12 zones, $1 million for prevention, $500,000 for intervention, and we've also allowed an additional $2.4 million for areas outside of the gang reduction zones to invest in prevention and intervention efforts as well. And as part of our overall strategy, it's not only prevention and intervention, but it's also suppression. And a key component of the suppression is actually our CLEAR program. And I think my colleague, Arif Alikan, can explain more about CLEAR, what CLEAR will do, how that gets implemented in these new additional sites, and the urgency around that.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning. I'm Arif Alikan, Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Homeland Security. We thank Councilmember Smith for opening this issue up because it's very important to us and the mayor that these funds be transferred. And as Reverend Carr mentioned, the CLEAR program is something that has actually existed prior to the gang reduction strategy. And based on its success, we decided in collaboration with the council to include that as the key suppression component as part of our comprehensive strategy that uses prevention, intervention, reentry programs, and suppression. This is a unique collaborative effort between the city, the county. Actually, state parole is involved, and now, as what was announced yesterday, also federal partners focusing targeted enforcement against the most violent gang members within the gang reduction youth development zones. Last year, the 5 sites that were operational experienced an 11% reduction in gang-related violent crime. Those are murders, shootings, stabbings, rapes, and robberies. And by contrast, the entire city experienced a 3.9% reduction. Its success has been proven. It's being constantly evaluated. It is necessary that we are able to use these approximately 2.2 million of the 2.7, because 500,000 would actually go to prevention and intervention in the Rampart double zone. The 2.2 million would be split up between the 4 other sites to implement the CLEAR program. And as we discussed at the Budget and Finance Committee, there is a process to do that. There are contracts that must be negotiated and finalized before that can be done, because we are working very closely with the County of Los Angeles for the district attorney, the probation officer, that is assigned specifically for that particular gang reduction zone. And I think we all recognize the urgency of doing that because of the reason, as Reverend Carr mentioned, that we chose these sites is based on the violent gang-related crime statistics in those areas. And just to give you a sense of how serious the problem is in those 5 areas, as of May 24th of this year, within those zones, in those 5 areas, we've experienced 266 violent gang crimes. That's 134 aggravated assaults, which are shootings and stabbings that did not result in death, 125 gang-related robberies, a rape, and 6 murders, just as of May 24th. So we feel that it's imperative that we start this process to make sure we have CLEAR fully implemented and running, so that when the prevention and intervention portions are implemented, we have that comprehensive package ready to go and running.
Thank you very much. And I think all of us have said very clearly in the committee that we fully support the CLEAR component of the program. We just didn't understand the money needs to move this forward. I want to say personally that Mr. Zine and I know very clearly the value of CLEAR, because on a much publicized night when Mr. Zine and I were involved in an altercation out in the San Fernando Valley, it was the CLEAR unit that was working in the neighborhood that were the first responders to assist us. And Dennis needed the help. I didn't need it, but Dennis really needed the help. So we appreciate CLEAR, but that beside this, the fact is that this is a vital program. We understand that the questions we had the other day were about the need, the urgency. where were the facts of the matter. I think you presented us the facts of the matter, and so I'm sure there may be some questions, but Mr. President, I would move that we delete the recommendation to freeze the money in the UB and that we replace it with a motion that says we were releasing the $2.7 million as proposed by the mayor's office and move forward with that funding program in this year's budget.
Okay. All right. Mr. Reyes?
When I first want to say to Karen, thank you so much for all your hard work. I appreciate everything you've done for the city throughout the years. But as I read the report and we talked about you speak to the indicators of what's happening in real estate and our ability to collect and our base there in terms of our taxes. In our analytical capacities, do we have the ability to identify where the foreclosures are occurring and what areas? Do we have that capacity?
Actually, most of that data comes from the county, and as Ms. Gruhl indicated, one of the issues that we need more information on is that you may recall last year we had an issue with when our May and June payments were transmitted. They were transmitted late. So we're not sure yet whether this is just a sort of a clerical error, for lack of a better word, or if it really represents a drop in the collection rate. As we solve that issue and we look at the data we have, we'll be able to have better information. But in terms of the location of foreclosures, we don't have that data directly. We do, however, have very good historical information on, how foreclosure trends work, when we can expect to see the bottom of a foreclosure trend, and when we can see ourselves coming out of that. But the locations, we don't have that data personally, but we can look to the county to help us in that area.
I don't sit on the budget committee, that's why I'm asking these questions, because I see these reports. I think it's important for us, if we're going to be proactive, to understand what these figures really mean. You speak to this anomaly, and we're not sure we still need to define it and understand it from what you're saying. But we are dependent on the county to give us the raw data to understand where these incidents are occurring.
Yes, and we have a very good relationship with the county. In the CAO's office, there is a group called the Revenue Group, and their whole purpose in life is to track each of our revenues. And they talk with both the assessor's office and the auditor controller's office on a very regular basis, which is why we've historically been very, very close on our property tax projections. We have a very good rapport with them, and we're able to get that kind of data. But your point is well taken, which is, I believe, why the Budget and Finance Committee during their deliberations asked that we come back on a regular basis outside of the normal financial status report process to update that committee and the council on revenues, and particularly with regard to these real estate revenues like property tax, like documentary transfer tax. So we'll be following those very closely. We want to make sure that if we see any negative trends that are going to impact revenue to the budget, that we are back in front of the council and that committee to alert you, and that the mayor is alerted so that any sort of budgetary modifications that need to be made can be made.
Just maybe as a parting directive from yourself to the staff, I'd like to meet with the person in your staff who has that relationship with the county. I think what's important is, as we go through our land use decisions, we start talking about where we evolve policies that speak to housing types. We need to keep an eye on where the foreclosures are occurring and what that means to our city investment in our own infrastructure. And there's a direct relationship, I believe, to how we deal with healthy environments for our youth as relates to gangs and availability of housing. It's all connected. And I think those patterns are important to understand. And so if someone from
We'll
your
be
staff
happy to do that.
can come to my staff, I'd like to break that question down a little bit more. Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl. And then after that, we'll hear from Mr. Simon.
Thank Karen Sussin for being here for the last 3 years. It's been my pleasure working with you. And I got to tell you, your integrity, your honesty, your spirituality, and your knowledge and experience was a great asset, not only to me, frankly, but to the city. You're a true treasure, and I'm real sorry to see you go. but you helped me a lot, and I know you've helped my colleagues a lot, because when you talk, we just feel the integrity and decency and honesty, but besides your professionalism. So Godspeed to you and everything else. The only thing I want to say to Jeff Carr, I appreciate your comment there when you heard my colleague, Mr. Smith, work out something that we could all live with and go forward with. It's just a matter of proper protocol with us. That's all. Sharing things with us, letting us know things, comparing notes, figuring out things to work, and it was more that than anything else that I felt a little bit of resentful from. And I did tell it to the mayor, when he called upset about it, that we have to work together. We're all in this together. We just have to find ways to get rid of our attitudes and egos and make it happen. And I love your comment there, and that's all we needed. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Go to Mr. Zion as our next speaker. After that is Mr. Alarcon.
Thank you. Karen, I want to also offer my congratulations to you. As I know, you're going to go to greener pastures where they got unlimited funding for education. Regarding the issue at hand, mentioned intervention, suppression, prevention, and then we talked about outside the zone. Now, I have a zone out in the West San Fernando Valley. I am not earmarked for any special funding. What we want to do is help that community because we do have some gang activity. Not to the magnitude of other parts of the city, but we do have some. Can any of these dollars be utilized for any of the programs out in that area under this proposal?
Yeah, well, just for to be clear, none of the funds are earmarked for any one organization. They're all set aside for a competitive application process. We'll be undergoing this fall a request for proposal. The funds have been aside in these targeted areas, as I said, $1.5 million in each one of those. The $2.4 million are certainly, we would expect that organizations and communities outside of those targeted areas would apply for those funds and to build a case for why those funds are needed in those particular communities. And that could be for a variety of things. Our zones are anywhere from 6 to 10 police reporting districts in size. So you might have a community that may not have the magnitude of the violence in that large of an area. It might be in a smaller area but have similar levels of violence. That certainly would be a compelling case, I think, to show why those funds might be necessary in that community. And if the proposers can articulate that, I would expect that they would have a compelling case and be a competitive application.
And the current programs, Bridges 1 and 2, will continue through the end of the calendar year.
That's correct.
I know there's some concern about the summer months, June, July, August, schools out, et cetera, with the year-round schools. Do we have a focus citywide, in addition to the target zones, for those areas during the summer months?
Well, you are correct that the LA Bridges program, as it's presently configured, will be continued through December 31st of this year. We'll be funding it at its current level. There has been some conversations both with law enforcement and community representatives and, in fact, with some folks at a meeting this week about how we can have some attention on how to try and reduce levels of violence. We're also looking at an initiative through some private funding to actually expand or extend some of the hours and expand the programming in some of our parks in some of the most violent parts in the neighborhoods in our gang reduction youth development zone. So we're looking at a number of different measures to try and do that as well with the limited capacity we have at this time.
I know conversation I've had with the general manager of Rexton Parks, Mr. Muckery. They talked about midnight basketball, which was a popular sport at one time, but we have some locations in my district, I'm sure other districts, in the heat of the summer when it's 90 degrees at night, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. We've got some pools, to keeping some of the pools open after hours, to have them 8, 9, 10 o'clock, to get the youth into that environment instead of on the street when it's very, very difficult. A lot of people don't have air conditioning. So some of those programs, I think, just get them into something substantial, get them away from the gang activity, the gang culture, the gang influence, and peace and tranquility at the heat of the summer.
That's exactly what we're looking at, to pilot some of those. There was, Councilman Wesson is very familiar with an effort that was done in his district a number of years ago in Jim Gilliam Park, and it had tremendous results. For 8 weeks that it was operated, there were no homicides, and they actually had 20% reductions in violent gang-related crimes. Last summer in Councilman Garcetti's district, Glassell Park, a similar effort was done. And so we're looking at how we can expand that and pilot that in some other places this summer. But I think long term, it's one of our goals to see how we could do that across the city, because one of the things that's happening right now with the school construction bond, one of the great things is we're building more schools to reduce overcrowding, which will eventually lead us to having all children in LA Unified being on a traditional calendar.
Right.
One of the side impacts of that we haven't really talked about is that by 2012, every single young person in the city of Los Angeles will all be out of school at the same time in the summertime during the hottest time. And we have about 4 years to really ramp up and start thinking about how we as a city are going to provide exactly the kinds of alternative activities as well as summer jobs, which has been a priority of this mayor to increase those jobs. And it's something I think we, the mayor and the council, are going to have to work hard at to really prepare for that sort of silent tsunami that's coming in about 4 years.
Thank you. Don't say tsunami. We have enough problems without the tsunami.
Thank you, Mr. Zine.
We have also a commander here, Commander Gannon from the police department.
And then
Do we want to
press
have
your
him
button,
join the table?
Mr. Zine, will you press your button again for that? Because
I just want to bring it to say if we want to bring him up for part of this
That he's here.
conversation.
Okay. He's here as a point of information, and if anybody wants to ask some questions, including Mr. Zine, just press your button the second time, and we'll.
I don't
get
need to
you.
press the button because I'm done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Zine.
you. And Karen, congratulations.
Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was, shocked to hear from Mr. Zine that he had these problems in his area where it relates to gangs. So I rise to get permission from you to free him from some of his council responsibilities, and we could have Mr. Zine and Mr. Smith patrol Zine's area. So I just thought that I would throw that into the mix. And
We've already had some experiences with that, so we appreciate you very much, Mr. Wesson. Mr. Alarcon.
Mr. Carr, you're aware of my concerns. Just 9 days ago, in a matter of a few hours, at 6 p.m., a 16-year-old boy was shot in his face and shoulder. At 7 p.m., 2 men were found dead in North Hollywood. At 8:30 p.m., 4 men were shot and wounded in Arleta. At 9 p.m., a man was shot in Sylmar. And at 9:45 p.m., a 21-year-old African-American woman and a 22-year-old African-American man were wounded by 2 gunmen in that area. So in a matter of 3 hours and 45 minutes, there were 8 people who were shot, 2 people dead. We've talked about the urgency of implementing a new strategy, and yet the piece that we haven't implemented is the intervention piece. There's some intervention money in the Bridges programs 1 and 2, but if it's such an urgency, why are we waiting till after summer to get the RFP out? I just don't understand why we would wait when we have people getting shot even before summer, and we always know that things get worse in summer.
Well, I certainly understand the urgency. I mean, you are correct. While violent gang-related crime across the city is actually down this year by about 13%, that's no solace to family members and communities that have been devastated by this violence. And unfortunately, I often am at those scenes and see the families, as I did this Memorial Day night in Highland Park area with the 14-year-old girl that was shot in the head. I do think our strategy has been to, as we've said, to really implement a comprehensive strategy, which includes the prevention and intervention. But the other thing that we've done is in the 6 zones that we have actually issued a request for proposal for the prevention dollars. We've really felt like what's important as we move forward with this strategy is to really do a good, thorough assessment of the community, both to assess what the needs are specifically related to gangs and gang-related issues and talking to people in those neighborhoods, but also understanding what the assets are, because a lot of these neighborhoods actually do have assets that we need to build on, and then how the funds that we invest going forward can actually leverage the existing assets in the community and really address the needs that the people that live in those neighborhoods have suggested. As you stated, one of the things the LA Bridges, by extending the 6 months of the LA Bridges funding, there is, through LA Bridges 2, gang intervention funding that will continue through the summer. We've had some, as I mentioned earlier, some conversations with the intervention workers about how they can work together, also work with our office and law enforcement to really do a concerted effort this summer to try and reduce the levels of violence. But I think it speaks to my colleague Arif Ali Khan's suggestion that with these funds it is going to enable us to move more swiftly on trying to implement CLEAR, which really, while it's the suppression piece and it's not the only part of the solution, it does give us the resources for law enforcement to really implement that possibly even sooner than we plan to implement the rest of our funds. So I understand your concern, but that's the sort of deliberative strategy I think that we feel like is the best way for us to move forward, not just to address the short term, but really to also address the long term and try and put our efforts on a new course that will really reap benefits over the long haul.
Well, I certainly appreciate the need for appropriate deliberation, but it's been well over a year now, and people are getting killed. And they're getting killed in my district in large numbers in the San Fernando Valley. It's hotter than at any time I can remember in recent times. I just don't understand, if there's such an urgency, why we can't implement that urgency now and put the money on the streets for the summer, because that's when people historically get killed. To do an RFP in October is fine and dandy, but frankly, I just don't understand why we're not putting money on the street for intervention strategies in the summer.
Well, I think one of the challenges we've had to address is that I think in the past we haven't had the kind of criteria and the standards and the protocols and the consistency across the board with intervention that we all feel, including many of the intervention workers, that we need to have moving forward. And so one of the things we're working with many of the folks in that community with groups such as the CCVIP is to actually develop those standards and those protocols, hiring practices, so also we can develop the sort of approach that we're going to take with gang intervention to really have a greater impact than I think any of us think we've been able to have. Not that we haven't had some impact, but we'd like to have a greater impact. And so we've been working with that community to define those processes, and I just feel like I think it would be premature for us to take some of these funds that we've set aside for this more deliberative process and to just put them out in our existing system that we have. If there were some other funds available, I certainly think we would be open to looking at that and how we might approach that, and we'd be happy to work with you on that.
Members, I want to remind you that the last week we identified funding in the Sanitation Bureau for the uncollected fees on extra capacity bins. The total amount would be $11 million, but if you assume, that's if every bin were collected for, if you assume there's some lost bins, if you assume some people will not participate, even if you cut that figure in half, that's $5.5 million. It seems to me that there is an urgency to get money into the streets now for intervention. And I would urge us to, that matter is going to Budget Committee shortly. I would urge us to look at whether or not we can implement a strategy. I apologize for being over my time, but let me ask Mr. Carr, if we could find an amount of money to put into the streets for intervention this summer, essentially using the RFP or the bridges process, the contractors that are currently contracted with, modifying their contracts so we don't have to go out to a totally new RFP. And we could define some relatively simple and non-controversial intervention strategies that we know work, that could be contracted for. How much would it cost us to put together an intervention strategy for this summer?
Well, the present rate of spending for LA Bridges 2, which is the intervention piece, is approximately $3.5 to $3.6 million. So if you were talking about the summers, that current rate is roughly $300,000 a month throughout the city. So if you were talking about 2 months during the summer, July and August, you'd be talking about $600,000. I think the only way you could do it would actually be to augment the existing LA Bridges contracts, because as you say, to conduct a request for proposal process, there just wouldn't be the time through the process to do that by the summer. So that really would be the only avenue by which something like that could be done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Labange, then Ms. Grewal, Mr. Smith.
I
Mr.
rise to
Alarcon.
support this effort here. I thank Mr. Smith for getting clarification, and I first should say, Karen Sisson, thank you for all the work that you've done and the great personal support you've given me and my family, but also your leadership and the leadership that you've given the CAO's office. I'm going to try to get there at 2 this afternoon. All that being said, Deputy Mayor, and is this a Deputy Mayor extra, or how do we address?
Sure.
Deputy Mayor, all right, Deputy
Is
Mayor.
it Deputy Mayors
Here's
or
the thing that I believe in, just
Mayor?
to let you know. I believe in cops and I believe in coaches, and I believe the only way we're going to get this is through as a combination of things. So I'm going to vote for this, but I want to ask you if we could do this together. I'd like to organize and reach out to the coaches of Los Angeles in some way and have the mayor's office host a little meeting, because they see a lot of these young people who are at the edge who could either be involved in something positive or be in something that's negative. And I really think we got to reach out to them. I've talked to some of them and they haven't had any formal reach out, but if you could help me on that, I would like to partner with the mayor's office, because it is about cops and coaches and making sure that things happen in a positive way. So, and it's so sad that so much violence does occur. The tragedy that happened in Highland Park the other morning or other afternoon, all this is just very, very sad, and we have to find a way to change that. And I think the other way you got to change it, you got to play places where people want to be and want to be good with each other, not violent with each other. So you do that for me, Jeff?
We'd love to talk to you about
Cops
that.
and coaches, no, we're going to set it up.
Okay.
We don't want to talk anymore.
No, that'd be great.
Set it up, don't cost us any money.
Okay.
I'll pay for the Gatorade. Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Smith, we'll go to next.
And I have two questions, and I thank Mr. Alarcon for bringing this forward. Again, the committee was going to deal with this issue. He wants to move some of this now. So I have two questions. My first concern has always been that we still have not identified a criteria for funding these programs. And I've always been very concerned, as was identified by Mr. Ludlow 2 years ago and Mr. Cardenas' committee, that we don't have good criteria, and the city controller has pointed out we don't have good criteria for giving the money out to these programs, and I think we need to develop that yet. In lieu of that, I'm willing to go along with one caveat. I want to make sure the money is there for this initial portion. I believe in time we will have the money, but he's saying that we'll get this money, that the Bureau of Sanitation has begun billing, that we're going to start seeing money roll in, and he's only asked for a very small portion of the money that is expected. So I just want to hear from CAO, CLA that they believe that the $600,000 or so that he's requested now will be there in immediate terms, not later in the year, but will roll in shortly enough that it makes sense to fund this, because if the money is still not there while he's identified the source, and it is a good source, I believe there's timing issues always with these programs. We don't see the money on July 1st just because we put it on the budget. So can you tell me, do you believe that there will be sufficient monies rolling in the near term to support his request?
Yes, as you know, we have a commitment to report back to Budget and Finance early in July, but the initial investigation we've done, I feel fairly confident that $600,000 would be there. As Mr. Alarcon indicated, there's a large pot of money that we need to validate, make sure about, but $600,000 is a fairly small piece of that.
It's a conservative enough estimate, and the money is going to be, and Bureau of Sanitation has begun billing.
I don't know if they've actually begun billing yet, and we'd have to check with them, but I know we've been having those conversations based on the fact that we need to report back to you.
Okay. Based on that, I'm willing to say let's go ahead and go forward, and we'll deal with that other policy issue, which we have to deal with. But these are programs that are vital, and I agree that the timing is important. Mr. Carr, Reverend Carr, do you think this is a wise decision on our part to go ahead and begin this?
Well, certainly, I mean, there's no question, summer is always the most violent time in the city. I mean, from 4th of July to Labor Day weekend is the hottest, most typically violent time of the city, and I think any efforts no matter how imperfect they might be at this moment, that we can invest in to try and give young people an opportunity to stay out of trouble, as well as to intervene in the lives of young people who maybe either become victims or perpetrators of violence. If we save 2 or 3 lives, it's hard to put a price tag on the saving of a life, and I think that would be a wealth.
I thank you all for that, and with that, I'm willing to go along with this, Richard. I think it's a good idea to start this, and it's needed, and I'll be happy to support it. And if you could find some money for Mr. Rosenthal's gardens area, I can't believe it's not in there, but that's another issue. Yeah. Please.
Circulating a motion that does in fact amend the report to allow for the allocation of $600,000. It's being seconded by Mr. Rosendahl, and I hope when we send this to the mayor, we have a prevention piece, a suppression piece, and an intervention piece, so that we can go to the public and make sure that they understand we are trying all 3 strategies for the summer. Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yeah, I just again appreciate Mr. Smith, the way he asked the question. My bottom line is you feel we can get the money available, and you say we could use it this summer, and Mr. Alarcon was creative enough to come forward with it, so I hope all our colleagues will support this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Krul.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to close and make sure we're all clear on what we were going to do, and appreciate your motion, Mr. Alarcon, and those funds, and the CAO feels very comfortable with that. And so you came in and got an additional $600,000.
I might come more often if we could do this way.
But colleagues, I think that we're in a position, and I appreciate the mayor's office being here and explaining, and the documents that were provided to all of us to ensure there's nothing more serious than this gang problem in the city of Los Angeles. And on one night, I think Mr. Alarcon was talking about in your district and my district combined in the Valley just a week or so ago was frightening. And some in which, in my district it was 645 at, Whitsett and Oxnard, in a place where these things were happening. So I think, colleagues, with the amendments that Mr. Smith made and Mr. Alarcon, those are friendly amendments to the FSR that we have before us today. And we'll look forward to the CAO coming back, absent Karen, and I want to add as well, Karen, you've been a delight to work with for many years, not just since you've been either mayor's office or CAO, but the previous jobs you have held, that those items will come back as far as the other funds identified by Mr. Alarcon and the board, the Public Works Department, potentially for us to look at what kinds of things we might consider funding. But with that, I would just ask for an aye vote with those amendments. Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. You were involved in this as well.
Happy to serve.
Mr. Garcetti, if I could just take a moment, I just wanted to recognize the members of the CLEAR team who are here today. Commander Pat Gannon from LAPD, George Martinez from LAPD, Jack Sims from the County Probation Office, and Peter Schutan from the City Attorney's Office. So they could just stand up.
Thank you for your exemplary work, gentlemen. Appreciate your presence here as well. With that, let's go ahead and open the roll. But just before, or while it's open, go ahead, Ms. Sisson. Any last questions for Karen Sisson? Yes, go ahead.
Just if I may, and I hope the city attorney will indulge me just for a moment. I did want to take this opportunity to thank both our mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, and the honorable members of this city council for the opportunity to serve as your CAO for the last 18 months. I'm leaving today city service very grateful for the friendships, the teamwork, the contributions, and accomplishments represented by all the talented, dedicated, and thoughtful individuals I've been privileged to work with. I know you all know this, but this city is blessed with a cadre of very committed civil servants, strong can-do supervisors and managers, and innovative and responsible general managers. But today, here in this chamber, I want to especially thank each of you and the members of your staffs and the CLA for the lessons learned and the problems solved together. I'm not the same person who sat in this chair 18 months ago, and I've gained much from the experience. I hope in some small measure the city has benefited as well. So in closing, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as your city administrative officer for the last 18 months, and I wish you all the very best.
Well, we haven't voted yet, and after that, how can anybody vote against what's been recommended? There's, as amended by Mr. Alarcon, that has been circulated as well. So if that is accepted without objection, that will be included.
Mr. President, there's also a verbal amendment by Mr. Smith.
Okay, and Mr. Smith's verbal amendment as well, without objection, will be accepted as friendly. And with that, please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor without objection. All right. Mr. Alarcon has asked for number 20. Yes. Yes. So quick introduction to Mr. Weston, then we'll take up item number 21 for Mr. Alarcon. Please.
In fact, it's appropriate, Mr. President, that you would mention Mr. Alarcon, because Richard and I had the opportunity to serve with a visitor that we have in our chambers today. He's a very dear friend of mine. He was a loyal member. Plus, he gave me his vote for speaker. So when he and I get older, we'll go back and we'll do it all over again. From San Jose, if we could welcome Assembly Member Manolo Manny Diaz. Manolo.
Welcome, Assembly Member. Great to have you here in Chambers. And with that, Mr. Alarcon, and we have cards from the public, so you want to say some opening things, and then
Please,
we'll... Okay.
public comment first.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have Nativo Lopez on item 21, and then Salina Dorado. Good afternoon.
President Eric Garcetti, Honorable City Council, Cesar Chavez called him his mentor to us when we once met him in La Paz to spend the day and share experiences. He was the modern founder of the immigrant rights movement in the United States, and ironically, not enough of the immigrants currently fighting for legal status and respect for their human dignity and the organizations that advocate for them know about his life and work. I would like to thank and congratulate the City Council for this acknowledgement, particularly Council members Richard Alarcon and Jose Huizar, and in this they pay appropriate homage to a person who did so much to not only improve the conditions of life and work of immigrants, but also increase political representation for Mexican Americans and Latinos. Alarcon and Huizar are the direct beneficiaries of his life's work, and they acknowledge the same. Both represent districts that are probably amongst the jurisdictions that had the largest number of individuals who qualified for the 1986 amnesty, legalized their status, and 7 years later obtained U.S. citizenship status and voted for the first time in their adopted country. Eventually, 3 million previously undocumented migrants would do so. Latino political representation throughout the U.S., especially in the Southwest, would grow exponentially as a result from 1996 forward. Am I limited to the 2 minutes? That's a shame.
We have to keep it consistent. Sorry about that.
We have spoken forcefully in favor. Having worked with Bert Corona for more than a quarter of a century in both CASA and Hermandad Mexicana Nacional, I can say unequivocally that he would have graciously accepted the accolade, but would have firmly advocated for immigration reform on a municipal level, things that local elected officials can immediately do without deferring to the U.S. Congress or waiting for comprehensive immigration reform at the federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lopez, if you have other comments you'd like us to see, we'd be happy to take them when the sergeants at arms will make sure they get circulated as well. Thank you. Salina Dorado is our next speaker. And then Angelina Corona. Good morning and welcome to City Hall.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Dorado. I am the student body president at Bert Corona Charter School in Pacoima. The students at my school live in Council Districts 6 and 7. I want to thank the City Council for honoring Bert Corona. Bert Corona was a community organizer who worked to help his community have better wages and living conditions. He was always ready to support any cause that would help the needy. Most importantly, we named our school after Bert Corona because every day Bert Corona tried to find a hero in everybody that he met. At my school, we try to honor Bert Corona every day by trying to find the hero and everyone we meet. Thank you for recognizing Bert Corona for his work.
Thank you very much. And it's a great honor to have you all here. And Helena Corona is our next speaker. After that is Dixon Slingerland.
Good afternoon. My name is Angelina Corona. I am the Executive Director of Hermandad Mexicana Nacional, and I have with me a very large group of volunteers, citizenship students, teachers who are very committed to make the citizenship process happening. I have also my attorney who has going with me through a struggle maintaining the organization up and running. I'm very pleased and thank you for the City Council to consider this resolution to make my husband Bert Corona recognized in the community nationwide. This is very significant event for Hermandad Mexicana Nacional. This is the organization that he created, he struggled, he maintained it for more than 20 years. We are absolutely committed to preserve his legacy to the organization. We not only have the infrastructures, which already have 20 offices in Los Angeles County, but we have the commitment to preserve his legacy, to our commitment to speak out for the disadvantaged, for the immigrants, for women, for the poor, which was the legacy that led us in the organization. So I'm very pleased to have members from the organization here. We're very thankful for the City Council, especially Councilman Wizard, Councilman Alarcon, where we have a strong presence in their community. I want to say that Bert was a unique leader. He struggled from 1926, where he became a member of the Longshoremen's Union, to almost a few weeks after he died, where we participated along with the labor union in building an immigrants' rights movement. He was a leader that overcome races. He gained the respect of the African American community, the Jewish community. He transcended issues. We struggled, along with him, we struggled to build the political power in the City Council and the Assembly nationwide.
Thank you very much. If I can ask you to wrap up your comments.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Muchísimas gracias. And it reminds me of the last time I saw Bert Corona. Sorry to cut you off. It reminds me of the last time I saw Bert was with you in Gilbert Cedillo's office just before he passed. And thank you for coming here and being part of this today. Dixon Slingerland is our next speaker. Good morning.
Hi, hello. I just really came to introduce our kids from Bert Corona Charter. It was a great honor for me to know Bert in the last 5 years of his life, and also a great honor when we got to name this school after him back in 2004. So we're glad the students are here, and thanks for this Bert Corona Day.
Thank you very much, Dixon. Raul Murillo is our next speaker, and then Juan Jose Gutierrez.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the City Council for this recognition and our leader and founder member of Hermandad Mexicana Nacional, the legacy of Bert Corona, especially to City Council member Richard Alarcon and Jose Wizard, profound friends of the organization. I just want to say that we want to continue here in Los Angeles and the whole United States with the legacy of Bert Corona. The legacy of Bert Corona is in the streets, it's in the construction parts, it's in the fields, it's in the schools, it's everywhere. The most needed need the elected officials to work for them, to be with them, to push programs that are included on the legacy and vision of Bert Corona. We, as Hermandad Mexicana, are committed to push forward that, and we are committed with you, with the City Council, to work for the City of Los Angeles, to make a City of Los Angeles secure, not only one for those that are grateful, but for every people, every immigrant, every worker in the United States, regardless of their immigration status, which was the most important thing for Bert. We are not marked with a green card or with a birth certificate. We're humans and we're workers, and we came to the United States as hard worker families seeking a dream for all our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Juan Jose Gutierrez. After that will be Ernesto Corona.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here this afternoon to be celebrating the wisdom of the City Council in declaring May 29th Bert Corona Day. I think it's important to remind ourselves why Bert Corona matters in the Southland. He participated in the great struggles that built the labor movement in the United States of America in the 1930s. He fought against fascism by joining the American Armed Forces and getting rid of that scourge of the land of Nazism in the 40s. He waged struggle relentlessly against the witch hunts of McCarthyism in the 1950s. He was a great fighter for civil rights in the 1960s, building bridges of unity between all the races, black, white, brown, yellow, all the races that make up this great diversity that is the Southland and the country. And in the 1970s, he continued that great struggle to bring about the recognition of the humanity of the immigrant man and woman that provide so much to our society. And in the 1970s, that struggle continued and was redeemed in 1986 when the Congress had the wisdom to pass the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986 that gave amnesty to over 3 million men and women of this country that are now citizens, are in power and voting, making our society better. So let us hope that this is one step in the right direction, that there will be more than just a day of recognition for the great contributions of that great fighter for human rights that was Bert Corona, and that soon enough we will have a Bert Corona Avenue in this city that was the home where he made his name and his reputation. Thank you very much, Jose Huizar. Thank you very much, Richard Alarcon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gutierrez. Our last speaker is Ernesto Corona. Good afternoon.
President, City Council members. My name is Ernesto Corona. I am the son of Bert Corona. Thank you very much. From labor unions to civil rights activists to joining the army, he did it all. He struggled. He fought for what was right. Equality in America is what he strived for. I wonder today what American politics would be today without him. Changed drastically. I know that for sure. We all must pay homage to Bert Corona. We all must remember his legacy. We must feel his motivation, his struggle. We see the charter school, the Bert Corona Charter School, many advancements to remember him, his book. We have many students and members from Hermandad who are working to become U.S. citizens as well. Today, well, tomorrow we remember Bert forever as a true person who did everything possible for American democracy, to work for all of us. I'm pretty sure many of you knew him better than I did. Unfortunately, he died when I was 11 years old. I wish I got to know him better. But what we must do now is not just remember him, but remember his ideals and use them to better America, to strive for a better place, equality. We must do this job, and it's our duty as American citizens. Thank you very much. Long live Bert Corona.
Thank you very much, Ernesto. That will turn to Mr. Alarcon, and after that, Mr. Reyes, and then Mr. Huizar.
Members, And I'd actually like to say to Bert Corona's son that I met Bert Corona when I was 18 years old at Cal State Northridge. I think we were picketing Mejian Chevrolet over on the east side. You were there too. And I just want to say that you know your father. You know him very well. And congratulations. To know Bert Corona was to know that we all must work toward a better world. He had a passion uncommon to most activists that I know and I have known over the last 40 years. He was an in-your-face kind of activist. He never hesitated to say the truth as he saw it, and he never apologized for standing up for the least among us, particularly those who were Latino. He was a Mexican-American born in 1918, and I think one of the first actions he was involved with was the creation of the Social Security system. And he never stopped being active since the 30s. He was a man who was not a household word, but he was well known amongst activists in political circles, whether you were talking about presidents of the United States or grassroots activists. But his home was Los Angeles. He had moved from El Paso, and his base was Los Angeles. So I couldn't think of a more appropriate request than to provide a resolution to recognize May 29th as Bert Corona Day in Los Angeles. I know the mayor knew him well. I know that many of you knew him well. Sometimes it was tough. Sometimes because even if you thought you were the better political activist in terms of your philosophy, he would challenge you, and he would challenge you just for not being so humble. And so I can tell you that he worked on just about every progressive idea that I can think of. He was actually out there, whatever the march was, he was out there promoting it well into his 80s. And so we were very fortunate, I think, to have him as a member of our community, because he reflected what democracy is all about. Democracy is hard work. It is not something that you can just kick back in your living room and watch even the Lakers. As much as I like to watch the Lakers, Bert Corona was about democracy. And it takes work. And that means that you have to challenge yourselves so that you can continuously improve. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Bert Corona, although most of the people of Los Angeles don't know who he is or was. But I hope that with the school and with other activities to recognize his work, that his passion, his activism, his methods, his desire to improve the United States of America and the condition of the poor in particular will be inspired and carried on with these young people that we see today. I do want to mention Tony Cardenas is not here. I believe one of his children actually goes to Bert Corona. Bert Corona School is in his district, and he would be joining me in this resolution if he were here today. We are absolutely fans of Bert Corona, and we each and every day try to reflect a little bit of what he would have wanted in the work that we do. So I request your aye vote, but I only hope that we can continue to recognize Bert Corona each and every year on May 29th so that we can continue to inspire our young people to never say no, always work for a better world, continue the fight for justice, and improve the quality of life for the least among us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. For me, Bert Corona was a person I learned about in my Chicano history classes, in my Chicano political science classes at UCLA. There comes a time when I'm working with the previous council member of District 1, and we meet with him. And he's talking about housing. He wants to establish nonprofits. He wants to work with a community that is in great need throughout Los Angeles. And we're able to put together some of these housing programs. As painful as it was, as hard as it was, they got done. So I want to thank him for making sure that he held all of us accountable for the privilege of being an elected official because of the organizing he did going back many, many years. I know there are many leaders in the audience that are part of the Latino community. Would you please stand? We see Percy Duran, former commissioner, the other leadership, staff from the nonprofits. Please stand. We now know who you are. Thank you for being here. Just a few weeks ago, I had the honor of visiting a class that had just received its graduation. It was about to take their citizenry oath. They were going to become citizens. And there was a whole room of folks, seniors, middle-aged folks, young people. And they're all there in the room talking about what it is to be an American. And that's what Bert was, an American who understood diversity, the strength of our immigration community, our immigrant community, and the strength of our youth. So thank you for allowing us this honor of providing the opportunity to declare Bert Corona Day. I think our young people ask, who was Bert? What did he do? And his legacy will continue because of your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I want to recognize and thank Mr. Alarcon for bringing this forward. And I want to thank you, colleagues, for supporting us declaring May 29th Bert Corona Day. And I want to thank all of you who came out here to speak, particularly our young people, to recognize a great man, a man who worked for economic and social justice. And we often talk about how, through his work, many immigrants and Latinos benefited. But if you think about it, we all benefit, no matter what our background is, no matter who we are, because he was about integration. He was about making sure that the American dream was available for everyone. He was about making sure that we function better as a society. And when I look back and think about all the work he did, someone who dedicated his life to his work, it takes great sacrifice. Not many of us are able to take that huge sacrifice that he made. So I wanted to thank my colleagues and everyone who came here and working together to recognize the work he has done. And as was mentioned earlier, what better way to make sure that his legacy lives on but by naming a school after him so that children are asking, who was this great man who our school is named after? And hopefully all schools could begin asking that as well as we integrate that in our curriculum about social activism in Los Angeles that had a profound effect on our lives. So thank you for being here. This is a great day for all Los Angeles and all of America. Muchísimas gracias. Adelante con Bert Corona. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Weston.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I had the pleasure to meet Bert back in 1991. In fact, when I met Bert, Percy, your hair was black. Okay, so that just lets you know how long ago that it's been. But I just wanted to rise to reinforce some of the things that Mr. Huizar said and some of the things that were said by Ms. Corona. I think that Bert, and for the young people, really know this. Bert Corona was an ordinary guy that did extraordinary things. That means that any one of us can do the things that he did if we believe in it. Bert Corona was a colorless man. He didn't pay attention to what your religion was or the color of your skin. If there was a wrong, he fought to try to right it. Bert Corona believed that people should be judged based on their deeds and their actions and not on their status in life. Bert Corona believed that immigrants should be treated with respect because of the wonderful things that they bring to this country. Bert Corona was a special man. And when I met him back in 1991, I was Chief Deputy to Supervisor Yvonne Burke. And whenever there was a big event in the African American community, probably 90% of the time, Bert would show up to show his support, to show his solidarity. He left he printed a blueprint for us to follow. Judge people based on who they are, not what they look like. And this world will be a better place. It is a better place because of Bert, but I do think that we, all of us that are here today, have a responsibility to pick up that mantle that Bert carried his whole life and continue to move it forward, so maybe one day the things that he really dreamed would happen, we could bring to fruition. So I just wanted to rise to say that he was a good man, he was a great man, but again, to kids, he's a perfect example that an ordinary man can, or woman, can do extraordinary things. That's Bert Corona. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wesson. And colleagues, if you'll indulge me from the chair, too, I just wanted to thank everybody who came down here from the charter school, from Hermandad Mexicana. Certainly the role that Bert Corona played in my life as a young person. I had the good fortune of meeting him a couple times, but heard much about him from my father, who was the son of a Mexican immigrant, not unlike Bert Corona, who came here and fought in World War II, earned his citizenship because of that service, married a Mexican-American woman, my grandmother, and they produced a son, my father, who became the first Latino district attorney in Los Angeles. And we all stand in awe of what Bert Corona did, not because of one man, but because of the many men and women that he made into leaders. And we see the next generation of them here with the school. We see the next generation right here listening in council chambers. And any of us who saw the 30,000 people who became U.S. citizens last week here in Los Angeles, it was one of the largest swearing-in ceremonies ever. 3 ceremonies in the convention center because we couldn't fit them all in at once. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Know that that legacy and that fight continues very much. So felicidades, congratulations, and thank you so much for being here. So with that, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you all very much. And if we could turn number 2, Mr. Huizar has said you're going to have some questions outstanding, so we'll continue that without objection till the 10th of June on item number 2. Without objection, we'll continue that. And yes, Mr. Zine? Hold on one second, Mr. Zine?
Thank you. Mr. President, on item number 20, the questions have been answered, and we can move that forward.
You want to move that forward?
Move it forward. Number
okay,
20.
we have cards on 20, so we'll hold that for the card from the public. And I think we'll go to item 19 next. Out of order, if we may, Mr. Zumadog, item number 19, if you'd like to come forward, and that is the item having to do with the development at 1300 Electric Avenue.
Mr. President, just for the record, there's an amendment on item number 19. The motion calls for a transfer from fund number 682, Department 50, account number W178, Special Engineering Services account, in the amount of $106,502.90. The amendment is for the transfer to come from account number C257, Electric Avenue, Irving Tabor Court account.
Okay, so that number was wrong on the account, and that's a clarification. Mr. Dog, on item number 19, please. Okay, all right, Mr. Dog waves. No jam necessary. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. If we can go to, yes, Ms. Gruhl? 7? 7 forthwith without objection. If we can take up item number 20 now, and Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward on item number 20, please.
Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Very quickly, while you're doing this intervention or work on the city's flexibility with the pension plans, there's an article in today's business section of the LA Times, and it may be worth looking into, regarding buyouts. GM is offering buyouts to its workers, and the article goes on to say that The automaker said 19,000 workers had agreed to take buyout offers of the 74,000 hourly workers in February. And the reason I bring this up, if you're looking at pensions, I think it's about time that the city looks into offering buyouts for its workers, the city workers. The rate of increase for city salaries is going to bankrupt the city. And even though there were discussions about how the budget deficit was put under control and we sailed through this one, that's just talk, because it's like an iceberg. This budget deficit that you face this year is just the tip of the iceberg. Like they say, the 9/10 of that is underwater. So I think that any other solutions to the future budget deficits that the city will face, and they will be coming up with the price of fuel going up and the real estate values sinking, that looking into buyouts is not a bad idea, considering you're also looking into pension reevaluations. Thank you for your time, your answers, and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs, and we appreciate the suggestion. I believe that was also suggested in the Budget and Finance Committee report, so we'll stick tight and wait for that report back. Please open the roll on 20, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved.
Mr. President, for the record, for item 20, that ordinance will be over 30 days.
I'm sorry, that's right. We have less than 12 members, so that'll go over for one more week. If we can take up...
Actually, it'll be held over
30
for
days?
a month because it's a pension-related.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, for 30 days. So that'll come back on the 1st of July. If we can take up special item 1, and then we'll come back to 13 after that. And on the findings, Mr. City Attorney? Or am I making them?
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, Council has confirmed that Council will be in recess on Friday, June 6th, due to the expected lack of a quorum. Immediate action is required to notify the public as soon as possible. Council first must make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.
Thank you very much. Please open the roll on the findings, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are before us, so pursuant to Rule 23, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
So again, for members of the public, our meeting next Friday, which was scheduled for Van Nuys City Hall, will not be held. The importance of our relationship with our state legislature is obviously quite important, and one of Los Angeles City's own is going to be sworn in as the Speaker of the Assembly, so we will be meeting to make sure we do get to Van Nuys on the 10th of June. That'll be a Tuesday. Tuesday, June 10th, will be in Van Nuys City Hall. Next item, please.
Next is item 13, and there is a substitute motion on 13J, and there is also a card.
Okay, we have two cards, Azuma Dog, and then we'll go to Sharon Brewer out in the Valley. On item 13, special events.
Yes, it's great to come to City Hall. You sure do learn a lot, and thanks. Anyway, right now, special event fee waivers, and I did see the mayor. I told you earlier today I saw the mayor in Koreatown, and I did personally thank him because I told him I noticed over the past 3 or 4 meetings there's been a substantial scale back in the special event fee waivers, and so he appreciated that. But I would like to say, womp, 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 womp. Just when I'm giving a compliment, we got $20,000 for the BET Music Awards. And again, even though the BET is my favorite of all award shows, I don't think this is a time. Can't we have? Is that a mistake? Can you have them reimbursed? Usually, of these types of events, we do see the event sponsor reimburse. I think this would be a perfect one if you could maybe take out the BET $20,000 for that one and have them reimburse it. I would appreciate that. Also, there's a walk run, $20,000 for a walk run. And walk runs are great, charity. But we're in a budget crisis. In case you haven't heard, there's a huge budget crisis. Services are being cut. I personally don't think the city's going to have enough money for things like fire, police, schools, and public safety. So that's why I think we need to cut back. You've heard me talk about cutting back on special event fee waivers. This is the place to do it. I would like to congratulate, and I'm very pleased that it is scaled back substantially. However, it's those, anomalies like $20,000 for the BET Awards that kind of takes off some of the luster of the enthusiasm. Zuma Dog Mero 9, and if anybody would like this shirt, I need gas money home. Highest bidder on the way out.
Excuse me, next speaker is Sharon Brewer out in the Valley.
Sharon Brewer, item number 13, special event fee waivers, 14 total, 13 with amounts, $92,322, 1 reimbursed, 2 after the event. We have 3 religious events that add up to $11,631. I'd like to speak on item F, which is the $20,000 for the 2008 BET Awards that's going to be held at the Shrine Auditorium. I want to know, is the event free and open to the general public? Can I attend? Probably not. Then there's no direct public benefit. Also, you have an event for $1,642, a welcome to the neighborhood mixer, and $2,727, a family day at the Selma Park. Why is the city paying for a neighborhood mixer and a family day at a park? You have $12,424 for 4th of July fireworks and concert. Charge admission to those going to the event, CD3. You have $19,550 for a Stand for Hope inaugural 5K run walk, which I hear has a substitute motion, which should be read prior to comment. Again, you need to have the event, but not involve the city departments. You have a $4,507 first annual concert and fireworks show. Charge admission for those that are going. May fee waivers ended up being $939,585. CD7, there's more than enough money for your gang program. Again, the fee waivers have to stop. You're taking money from the budget, and these are getting ridiculous. A neighborhood mixer, a family day at a park. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. That park is on both sides of the street, and that will require street closure, and that is open to the public. So it's a very low-income area, and charging admission would not be feasible to bring many of the families in Hollywood. So we invite folks to come out to that Selma Park Fair this Saturday, tomorrow. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Next is item 15, and there is a card on this item.
Okay, Mr. Sachs on item 15. And can we take up 23 concurrently as well? And Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to give us comments on both 15, 23, and then we'll take Mr. Dogg's comment on 23 as well. And as the last items, I know we have council members who are excused a half hour ago on some city business, but we'll make sure that we get to those items and hear your public
Don't want to
comment.
hold the council members up after they've been
Okay,
probably
go ahead on
burned
item
out.
15, sir.
Yes, sir. Item 15 is a street vacation proceedings, and I'm just curious to know if that would have anything to do with the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority's desire to build a downtown connector, which will not connect to Union Station, will have more stops than the Red Line through downtown, and only benefit the MetroLink riders because they won't have to go from their train stops, run through Union Station, go down the stairs, go down another flight of stairs to the Red Line. All they have to do now is go up the flight of stairs to the Gold Line. And then I'd like to point out that on Tuesday you have a street vacation proceeding for a portion of the airspace of the alley between Bixel Street and St. Paul Avenue. This vacation doesn't mention airspace. So who will own the airspace in this proceeding? That's not clarified. And again, with the MTA, their actions, the city should have a moratorium with doing anything with the MTA. The LAC, Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority, the legally binding authority recognized by the state. And until they come clean on their actions on how the construction authorities were funded and how the transit corridors are funded, the city should have a moratorium on doing any business with the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority because fares are going up, services are being cut, and the public is getting screwed. And I'd also like to apologize for my earlier remarks. I should have said jackass. Excuse.
Sir, if you could please watch your language. You have the right to say that, but we would ask you, because there are children and others who watch this and that are here in chambers quite often, if you could please use more appropriate language.
I mentioned an animal.
Sir?
I mentioned a dog.
We don't want to play games with you, but
dog eating
I'm asking you very politely, and you certainly have the right.
I'm trying to be polite, sir.
So next item, 23, please.
Excuse me, Mr. President, can that be determined to be an official warning?
Yes. Number 23, please.
Item 23, Arnold Sachs again. Officially warned Arnold Sachs. Regarding the track map, the Quimby fees are mentioned for over 58,000, but there is no number of units regarding this item. I'd like to point out that recently the County Board of Supervisors, in their brilliance, have amended the ability for people to file a review when they lose a case, an appeal when they lose a track map case, and that in his effort to explain himself, Supervisor Yaroslavsky said that it was the appellate that will have an opportunity. Well, the public is a loser sometimes, but so also is the developer. And in this instance, the developer has a new way to game the public by using the appeal method to increase the density of the track map. Thank you for your time, your answers, your attention,
Our
and
next
your
speaker is Zuma Dog.
Yeah. Who would think Zuma Dog suddenly would be the good cop in this chambers? Anyway, let's talk about, I guess can I do 15 a little bit too, just because they're both up there at the same time. 15, that is a vacation proceeding, not the type you think, but that's property for downtown. I believe that these vacations lead to dedications, which is when you have to make a building or something. I like to say downtown, that I hear that downtown is just for sale at any price, because Councilmember Perry will just sell out at any price for any project, any historic building. Just look at what's happening downtown with the with the new police station. They took a beautiful park and they're putting a police car wash and motor pool when they already have one. So I like to say, please be careful of these vacations and dedications and of the historic buildings, park space downtown, because we got a council member who's for sale at any price, and that's Councilmember Jan Perry, that I have been told by the community.
Sir,
in my opinion,
one of the things in our proceedings here is slanderous comments.
Is that slanderous?
Sir, I would please ask you not to say that.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't
unless
trying
you have
to be.
evidence on something.
Trying to reflect.
Otherwise, slanderous comments are prohibited.
Okay, no, I wasn't trying to be. I heed the warning, and I appreciate that. Let's move on to item number 23, track maps. And what a track map is, people, and I've seen them coming through just way too much lately. Before you do a high-density condo, well, you have to have a track map, and that paves the way. And again, I'd like to make note. I don't know if the council members watched the County Board of Supervisors meeting, but last week what they did in their brilliance is they waived. Okay, now here we have a city and county that's in hundreds of millions of dollars of budget deficit. They waived the appeal fee for developers when they want to appeal zoning variances. Great. Let's waive the appeals fee for the developers to jam more high density up the wazoo until we can't even breathe or eat or do anything in this city. And so thank you, Board of County Supervisors. And Zev Yaroslavsky, who told me that was not the case. I think he tried to bamboozle Zuma Dog. Finally, the worst thing you could do is try to say that Zuma Dog is wrong, because then someone from the public's going to say, man, they are lying to you and you got
Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. Thank you. If you can please, thank you. That will conclude our comments for today. Please open the roll on those two items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those both are approved. Next order of business, please.
Mr. President, there are motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
And there are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Weiss requests to arrive at 11 a.m. on June 10th for personal business. This meets policy.
He's excused.
Councilmember Zine requests to leave at 12 noon on June 4th for city business. A motion is required.
I'll go ahead and move that. Ms. Gruhl seconds. Without objection, that's granted.
Councilmember Smith requests to arrive at 11:30 a.m. on June 4th for city business. A motion is required.
Have the Sergeant at Arms please take care of the noise that's out there.
Councilmember Smith requests to arrive at 11:30 a.m. on June 4th for city business. A motion is required.
All right, I'll move that.
Councilmember Wesson requests to be excused on June 3rd for personal business. A motion is required.
On June 3rd, that takes us down to 11 or 10? Do we know? How many? Is that taken down to 10?
That takes down to council down to 10.
Okay, let's hold that on the desk for now, please. Okay, we'll double check that.
That takes council down to 10 members.
Okay, let's hold that on the desk then for now. Okay. And any other?
Mr. President, that's the next meeting.
Okay. Oh, that is the next meeting. Okay. All right. We'll excuse Mr. Wesson. I'll move that. Any other excuses?
And that clears the desk.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Gruhl?
Ms. Grohl, I don't know if we moved the items on the 11th and 13th for mine, if we were just waiting to ensure that was possible.
Let's excuse, I will move and excuse Ms. Gruhl for June 11th and June 13th, without objection. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti.
And the only short business announcement, I wanted to just congratulate our very own Los Angeles Lakers on their incredible victory last night. We're headed to championships, and we're very excited to make this for some of us who have been council members as long as 2001, it could be our fourth championship in 7 years, so we'll hope. So with that, if I can ask everybody to please rise in council chambers for adjourning motions. Mr. Labange.
Congratulate the great councilman of the 1st District for opening the Echo Park pool and swimming with the kids. It's a great picture, Ed.
You can have a huge bill from the cleaners, Mr. Reyes.
If I can ask everybody to rise, please.
If I could just make one announcement.
Sure.
General announcement. On Sunday, we have our annual Sister City Festival. It's at the Grove in their town square. The public is invited. It's open to the public for great dance from all of our sister cities' music and culture this Sunday. Free.
And if you haven't seen, you showed the picture of Mr. Reyes there in the pool? Mr. Reyes, would you like to respond to the picture of the pool? You were wet and in your suit. What was the context there?
It was a lot of fun, overwhelmed with the kids' joy, and this pool, they've been waiting 4.5 years. One of the most used pools in the city, actually, I've been told by Rec and Park, so that was fun. Well, this spur of the moment decision. Had a lot of fun.
You look great. Thanks.
I do have an announcement.
Okay.
I wanted to announce that I'm working with my colleagues, Councilmember Huizar and Councilmember Garcetti, Loomis Festival, Northeast Loomis Festival at Sycamore Grove Park. Come and enjoy Casa Adobe, Southeast Museum, all the great architectural gems we have in Highland Park, Loomis Home, you have Heritage Square, we'll have food, song. Come down to the Northeast and see what the neighborhood councils, along with the council members and the other artists from throughout the Northeast can do and celebrate Loomis Day. So come and enjoy the Highland Park area and take the GO line. You can get off on Museum Station and have a great time.
And Jackson Brown will be there.
Jackson Brown will be there.
And I know we've all been guilty. Mr. Zine will go ahead and let you do your announcement. But remember, the camera is in the back on Fridays for community-based announcements. So make sure those get on Channel 35 as well. So please, use that while we have that on Fridays, and you can give a whole week of announcements, and we'll run those on Channel 35 for the community. Mr. Zine?
Absolutely correct, Mr. President, but we're so focused on activities here in the council chambers that oftentimes we can't go to the back for those commercials, and that's why we're doing it here. Thank you for your indulgence. On Saturday, Valley Relay for Life, American Cancer Society at Birmingham High at 10 o'clock. Ask people to come out and participate in that. Also at noon on Saturday. Thank you, Mr. Labange. You'll be running for 24 hours. Thank you. Saturday, Lockhurst Elementary School Carnival, 11 to 4, Lockhurst Elementary in Woodland Hills. Please attend that. Show support for our youth. Also, there's Serena Avenue Elementary School. They're having their fun fair on Saturday. Also, request you attend that. And the LAPD bomb squad's opening their headquarters this Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Mr. Zine or Mr. Parks?
And I'm almost done. Mr. Park, I'll take Mr. Parks' announcing time also. And an event on Sunday is Nuts for Mutts dog show at Pierce College. I'll be judging that. I hope Mr. Weston shows up at that because I know he loves animals.
They found the right judge.
And there's one more thing that's going to be in your district, Mr. Labange, Mr. Garcetti. 3rd annual Armenian Independence Day Festival, Hollywood Boulevard between Vermont and Alexandria. So, citywide, worldwide, here we are.
Thank you.
Also, Patty Patano from a Therapeutic Living Center. I know you're watching. Hello to you, Patty.
Anything else, Mr. Zine?
That's it, Mr. Garcia.
Okay.
Garcetti.
Whatever his name is. Just call me Mr. President. Mr. Rosendahl for an adjourning motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Norma Ring, Doug Ring's mother. Norma was an avid reader and writer and was involved with the Santa Monica Emeritus College for many years and was even nurtured by the process of learning. forever. In her bio, in her last book, most recent published article, she said about herself, grew up attending many schools because of family moves, then UCLA, Immaculate Heart, now Emeritus. Throughout, reverence for books and always the magic of Once Upon a Time. Services were held yesterday at Hillside Memorial Park. Her sons are Doug Ring and, of course, her daughter-in-law, Cindy Misikowski, Grant and Paula Ring, and daughter Karen Mark Lawrence. Norma is also survived by 4 grandchildren, a sister and a brother, and devoted companion Jack Delson, and a warm, extended family of nieces and nephews, and an honorary grandson. May she rest in peace.
Thank you. Mr. Zion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 adjourning motions. One is a man I grew up with, passed away, Marco Zaga, passed away May 23rd. Was a resident of Calabasas, born April 25th, 1949 in Hollywood, Queen of Angels Hospital. Attended Fairfax High and Cal State University Northridge, where he earned a degree in accounting, became a very successful CPA. Was a very loving person, was always ready to lend a hand to anybody who needed help. He will be missed by all his family and friends, survived by his mother Lily, wife Beth, 3 brothers Jack, Maurice, and Zach, and his sister Nina. Marco and I grew up together in Hollywood. Andy Furstenberg, myself, Marco Zaga. I was the Lebanese kid on the block with my Jewish friends, and we palled around for many, many years, and sadly he passed away, so may he rest in peace. My second attorney motion, Sheldon Schuster, passed away May 21st. Sheldon Schuster passed away Wednesday, May 21st, wife of Sharon Schuster, who served as chief deputy to former council member Joy Pikus for nearly 12 years. Sheldon Schuster was a physicist, founding member of Friends of the Platt Library, also a loving husband, father, and grandfather. He will be missed dearly by his family, friends, and the community, survived by his wife, Sharon Schuster. May he rest in peace, Sheldon Schuster.
Thank you very much, and all members on the adjourning motion for Mr. Ring's mother. With that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And we hope everybody has a great weekend. Think good thoughts about the Lakers moving forward. Let's get those Celtics back here in Los Angeles and defeat them. And with that, this meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. We will next be in session on Tuesday, the 3rd of June.